The lock clicked into place with a finality that made my empty stomach clench. Through the kitchen door's frosted glass, I could see the shadows of my family moving around, preparing dinner. The smell of roasted chicken drifted through the gaps, making my mouth water painfully. "No Dehana year for Liars," my mother called out, loud enough for me to hear from the hallway where I stood. "Maybe tomorrow you'll remember to tell the truth." My crime? I told my teacher that I'd been too dizzy to complete my homework. Mrs. Patterson had asked if I'd eaten breakfast, and I'd accidentally let slip that I hadn't had a proper meal in 2 days. When the school called home to check on me, my mother had been furious. "We feed our daughter perfectly well," she told them coldly. "She's going through a phase where she lies for attention. We're handling it with appropriate discipline." Now, standing outside the locked kitchen, I pressed my hand against my hollow stomach. This was day 3 without a real meal. I'd managed to sneak a granola bar for my friend's lunch yesterday, but that was all. "Eleanor's eating with us tonight," I heard my father tell my younger sister through the door. "Since Jade can't seem to appreciate family dinner, she doesn't get to participate." Eleanor, my 13-year-old sister, said something I couldn't hear. Then Dad's voice, louder. "She'll eat when she learns respect. A little hunger builds character." I was 17 years old and weighed 89 pounds. This discipline had started 6 months ago when I questioned why Eleanor got new clothes for school while I had to wear the same threadbare uniforms from 2 years ago. "Ungrateful children don't deserve new things," Mother had said. "You'll get new clothes when you learn gratitude." The hunger punishments began small. No dessert, no seconds, smaller portions. But as I continued to ask questions they didn't like, express opinions they disagreed with, or show any sign of independence, the punishments escalated. Now, entire meals were withheld, sometimes days of them. "You can have water," Mother had explained during the first long punishment. "And once you apologize sincerely for your behavior, we'll discuss food." The problem was, their definition of sincere kept changing. I'd apologize for whatever transgression they'd identified, but it was never enough. "You're just saying what you think we want to hear," Dad would say. "When you truly understand your wrongdoing, we'll know." I retreated to my room, lightheaded from standing too long. My desk was covered with homework I could barely focus on. How do you concentrate on calculus when your body is eating itself? How do you write essays when your brain is foggy from malnutrition? My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Aisha. "You okay? You looked really pale today." I wanted to tell her the truth, but what would I say? My parents locked the kitchen. They were starving me. It sounded insane even to me, and I was living it. "Just tired," I typed back. "See you tomorrow." Tomorrow, I had to make it to tomorrow. That night, I lay in bed listening to my stomach growl. Through the thin walls, I could hear my family watching TV, laughing at some sitcom. Normal family evening. Except one member was slowly wasting away in her room. I tried keeping food in my room, but Mother did regular searches. "Hoarding food is a sign of an eating disorder," she'd said when she found my hidden crackers. "We're doing this for your own good, Jade, to break these unhealthy patterns." The irony wasn't lost on me. They were creating an eating disorder while claiming to prevent one. At 3 a.m., desperate, I crept downstairs. Maybe I could find something, anything. But the kitchen door was still locked, and they'd started locking the pantry too. Even the fruit bowl that used to sit on the dining table had been moved inside the kitchen. I drank water from the bathroom tap until my stomach hurt, hoping it would stop the hunger pangs. It didn't. The next morning, getting dressed for school was a challenge. My uniform hung off me like I was playing dress up in someone else's clothes. I cinched the skirt as tight as it would go, but it still slipped down my protruding hip bones. "Breakfast is for family members who contribute positively to the household," Mother announced as I passed the kitchen. Through the doorway, I could see Eleanor eating pancakes. My stomach cramped violently. At school, I moved carefully, conserving energy. In PE class, I sat out, claiming cramps. During lunch, I sat with Aisha and tried not to stare at her sandwich. "Jade, seriously, what's wrong?" she asked. "You look sick." "I'm fine," I lied, the words automatic now. My parents had trained me well. Family business stayed in the family. In biology class, the room started spinning. I gripped my desk, willing myself not to faint. We were studying the digestive system, of all things. Mr. Rodriguez was explaining how the body breaks down muscle tissue when it doesn't have enough fuel. The human body is remarkably adaptable, he said. In cases of severe caloric restriction, it will cannibalize its own tissue to survive. First fat stores, then muscle, eventually even organ tissue. I wondered which stage I was in. The darkness came suddenly. One moment I was taking notes. The next I was falling, my body finally giving up its fight to function on nothing. I heard chairs scraping, voices shouting, felt hands trying to catch me as I went down. When I came to, I was in the nurse's office. Mrs. Chin, our school nurse, was leaning over me with a blood pressure cuff and a deeply concerned expression. "Jade, honey, when did you last eat?" I tried to calculate. The granola bar was 2 days ago. Before that, when had I last had an actual meal? The days blurred together in a haze of hunger. I'm not sure, I admitted. She helped me sit up slowly, then gestured to the scale in the corner. "I need to check your weight." I stood on the scale, swaying slightly. The digital numbers flashed. 84 pounds. I'd lost 5 pounds since last week. Mrs. Chen's face went white. "Jade, I need to call for an ambulance. Now." "No, please," I begged. "My parents will be so angry." "I'm fine. I just." "Honey, you're not fine. You're severely malnourished. Your blood pressure is dangerously low. This is a medical emergency." She was already dialing. Within minutes, I heard sirens. As the paramedics loaded me onto a stretcher, I saw my classmates watching through windows, their faces shocked. My secret was out. At the hospital, everything moved quickly. IV lines were inserted, blood was drawn, monitors were attached. A doctor with kind eyes and careful hands examined me while a nurse documented everything. "How long have you been restricting food?" Dr. Kumar asked gently. "I'm not," I said automatically. I don't have an eating disorder. "My parents," I stopped, the conditioning still strong. "Your parents what, Jade?" Something in her voice, professional but compassionate, broke through my walls. "They lock the kitchen," I whispered. "When I'm bad. When I lie or disrespect them. No dinner for liars, that's the rule." Dr. Kumar's expression didn't change, but I saw her exchange glances with the nurse. "How often does this happen?" "More now. This time it's been 4 days, I think. Maybe 5. I lose track." "And your parents are the ones withholding food?" I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "Dad says I need discipline. Mom says I'll eat when I learn respect. But I never learn it right. It's never enough." Dr. Kumar squeezed my hand gently. "Jade, what's happening to you is not discipline. It's abuse. I need to make some calls." The next hours were a blur of tests and questions. A social worker arrived, then police officers. My parents were called to the hospital. I could hear my mother's voice in the hallway, shrill with indignation. "This is ridiculous. Our daughter has an eating disorder. We've been trying to help her." But the blood tests told a different story. Severe malnutrition, vitamin deficiencies, muscle wasting, organs beginning to show stress. The clinical nutritionist who reviewed my case was blunt in her assessment. "This isn't anorexia or voluntary restriction," she told the team. "The pattern of deprivation, the specific deficiencies, this is consistent with involuntary starvation. In my professional opinion, continuing this would have resulted in organ failure within weeks. This is attempted murder through neglect." When my parents were finally allowed in my room, they came with their lawyer. My mother's perfect composure was cracking, my father's authority challenged by the medical professionals who wouldn't defer to his demands. "She's a troubled teen," my mother insisted. "She lies constantly. Hoards food. We were trying to break these patterns." "By starving her?" Dr. Kumar's voice was ice. "Your daughter weighs 84 pounds. Her body is catabolizing its own muscle tissue. Her heart rhythm is irregular from electrolyte imbalance. This is what we see in concentration camp survivors, not troubled teens." "You don't understand," my father started. "Jade is manipulative. She's probably been making herself sick for attention." That's when Eleanor spoke up. My little sister, who'd been brought by a social worker, looked smaller than her 13 years. "They lock the kitchen," she said quietly. "I hear Jade crying from hunger at night. Mom makes me eat in front of her sometimes, says it's to teach her consequences." The room fell silent. My parents turned to stare at Eleanor in betrayal. "I didn't want Jade to die," Eleanor continued, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I tried to sneak her food, but Mom caught me and said I'd be next if I didn't stop enabling her." The lawyer whispered urgently to my parents. The police officers stepped forward. The social worker moved Eleanor closer to me, away from our parents. Mr. and Mrs. Wright, the lead officer said, "We're placing you under arrest for child endangerment and abuse." My mother's mask finally shattered completely. She deserved it. She screamed as they handcuffed her. "Ungrateful, lying little bitch." We gave her everything. "Except food," I whispered, but I don't think anyone heard me. The next days were a blur of recovery and investigation. Detectives found the locks on the kitchen, the food diary my mother kept documenting when I was allowed to eat, even a punishment chart showing days of dietary restriction for various infractions. Eleanor was placed with our aunt while the investigation continued. She visited me daily, bringing homework and apologies. "I should have told someone," she said. "I was scared they'd do it to me too." "You're 13, I reminded her. "This wasn't your responsibility." Physical recovery was slow. Refeeding syndrome was a risk. My body had adapted to starvation and could actually be harmed by too much food too quickly. The nutritionist created a careful plan to gradually increase calories while monitoring my organs' response. "Your body is resilient," she told me. "But there may be lasting effects: bone density loss, potential heart damage. You'll need monitoring for years." The psychological recovery was harder. I'd been conditioned to feel guilty for eating, to associate hunger with punishment, to believe I deserved starvation. The hospital therapist worked with me daily. "They convinced you that basic human needs were privileges to be earned," she explained. "We need to rebuild your relationship with food, with your own body's signals." 3 weeks into my hospital stay, I testified via video link for my parents' preliminary hearing. I described the escalating punishments, the days without food, the locked kitchen. The judge's face grew stonier with each detail. My parents' lawyer argued it was discipline taken too far, that they never intended harm. But the medical evidence was overwhelming. Photos of my emaciated body, brain scans showing changes consistent with starvation, the nutritionist's testimony that I'd been weeks from death. They were convicted on multiple counts of child abuse and attempted murder. My mother got 15 years, my father 12. The difference? The food diary in my mother's handwriting, showing she was the primary architect of the starvation plan. At sentencing, they were allowed to make statements. My father spoke about disappointment and ingratitude. My mother cried about how hard it was to raise a difficult child. Neither apologized. Neither acknowledged that they'd nearly killed me. I'm 19 now, living with my aunt along with Eleanor. I'm at a healthy weight, though I still see a nutritionist regularly. Some days are harder than others. Sometimes I still feel guilty for eating a full meal, still hear my mother's voice saying I don't deserve it. But I'm learning that food is fuel, not a reward. That hunger is a signal, not a punishment. That I deserve to take up space in the world, to nourish my body, to exist without earning the right to eat. Eleanor and I cook together now. She's teaching me recipes she learned from YouTube while I was locked out of the kitchen. We don't lock any doors in our aunt's house. The pantry is always open. There's always fruit on the counter. Remember when Mom said hunger builds character? Eleanor asked one day while we made pasta. "Yeah," I said, adding extra cheese to my bowl just because I could. "I think she was wrong," Eleanor said. "Surviving her built character. The hunger just built trauma." She was right. I survived systematic starvation disguised as discipline. I lived through attempted murder disguised as parenting. And now, every meal I eat is a small act of rebellion against the people who tried to erase me one locked kitchen at a time. The nutritionist was right too. It was attempted murder. They just used hunger as their weapon instead of something more obvious. But the body keeps score, and mine told the truth they tried to starve into silence. I eat now. 3 meals a day, snacks when I'm hungry. It's revolutionary. It's recovery. It's resistance. And it's mine.
The last time I saw my car, it was sitting in our driveway with a sold sign taped to the windshield. My name is Viviana, and that cherry red Honda Civic wasn't just transportation. It was proof that I could survive anything. Every dent, every scratch, every mile on that odometer represented something my father never gave me: independence earned through blood, sweat, and grease-stained uniforms. I bought that car with money I scraped together, working double shifts at Murphy's Diner, tutoring bratty middle schoolers in algebra, and selling every piece of jewelry my mom left me except her wedding ring. 3 years of sleeping 4 hours a night, living on ramen and Spite, while Dad spent his evenings wine tasting with his new girlfriend instead of helping me figure out college applications. The engagement announcement came on a Tuesday. Dad called it a family meeting, which was rich considering we hadn't functioned as a family since Mom died 4 years ago. "Sylvia and I are getting married next month," he said, not even looking at me. "Small ceremony, just immediate family." Sylvia smiled that practiced smile she wore like expensive perfume, overwhelming and fake. "I'm so excited to officially be part of this family, Viviana. Beckett is too." Beckett, her 18-year-old son, didn't look up from his phone. Kid had the personality of wet cardboard and the work ethic to match. He'd barely graduated high school while I was pulling a 3.8 GPA and working 25 hours a week. "That's great," I managed. "Congratulations." Dad finally met my eyes. "We're thinking of making some changes around here. Fresh start, you know." The way he said it made my stomach drop, but I nodded anyway. I was good at nodding. 4 years of practice. A week later, I came home from my shift at the diner to find the driveway empty except for Dad's BMW and Sylvia's white SUV. My parking spot, the one I'd claimed by virtue of actually paying for the privilege, was vacant. I found them in the kitchen, sharing a bottle of wine like they were celebrating something. "Where's my car?" I asked. Dad didn't even flinch. "I sold it." The words hit me like cold water. "You what?" "Beckett needs transportation for college. The money from your car will help cover his first semester." "My car?" My voice cracked. "The car I bought? With my money?" Sylvia set down her wine glass with a delicate clink. "Sweetie, we're a family now. Families help each other. Beckett has such potential. He just needs a chance. I worked 3 jobs for that car, and now you're helping your stepbrother get an education," Dad said, his voice flat. "It's called sacrifice, Viviana. Something you'll need to learn if you want to be part of this family." I stared at him. This man who'd raised me for 19 years, who'd held me when I cried about boys and taught me to drive in that same car he just sold. "You didn't even ask me. I don't need to ask permission to make decisions in my own house. It wasn't your car to sell." Dad stood up, and for a moment I saw something ugly flash across his face. "Everything in this house belongs to me, including you. You're 19 years old, with no job prospects and mediocre grades. I have a 3.8 GPA and a partial scholarship. Beckett has real potential. He's going to study business, maybe take over the firm someday. He's more of a son to me than you've ever been a daughter." The kitchen went silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Sylvia looked uncomfortable for the first time since I'd met her. Even Beckett glanced up from his phone. I felt something break inside my chest, something that had been cracking for 4 years since Mom died and left me alone with this stranger who wore my father's face. "Where are my keys?" I asked quietly. "Viviana." "Where are my keys?" Dad pulled them from his pocket and set them on the counter. "The buyer is picking it up tomorrow morning. I already signed the title." I picked up my keys to my car that I'd earned, and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Sylvia called after me. I turned back to look at them. Dad with his guilty defiance, Sylvia with her fake concern, Beckett already back to scrolling through his phone like my entire world hadn't just collapsed. To say goodbye to the last real thing I had. That was the moment I stopped begging to be loved and started planning their downfall. 3 weeks earlier, I'd been sitting in Olivia's law office, fidgeting with my mom's wedding ring while she shuffled through paperwork. "Your father's been asking a lot of questions about your assets," Olivia said, adjusting her reading glasses. She'd been Mom's estate lawyer and the closest thing to family I had left. "Specifically about the car." "What kind of questions?" "Whether it's considered part of the household property, whether he has any legal claim to it." She leaned forward. Viviana, I think you should transfer the title into your name only. Today. It's already in my name. It's in your name with him as cosigner because you were 17 when you bought it. That gives him certain rights. She pulled out a form. This removes him entirely. The car becomes yours, legally and completely. I signed the papers that afternoon. Best decision I ever made. Now, standing in that same office 48 hours after Dad's little announcement, I slid a copy of the title across her desk. He sold my car without my permission, I said. The title is in my name only. What does that make this? Olivia's eyebrows shot up. Theft. Grand theft auto, technically, since the car is worth more than $500. Can we prove it? She picked up her phone. We're about to. The police report took 20 minutes to file. Officer Martinez was surprisingly understanding when I explained the situation. Happens more than you'd think, he said, handing me a case number. Parents think they own everything their kids have. Law says otherwise. What happens next? We'll need to recover the vehicle and freeze any funds from the illegal sale. You'll need to press charges. Against my own father? Officer Martinez shrugged. He stole your car, miss. Family or not, theft is theft. I called Athena from the parking lot of the police station. Please tell me you're kidding, she said after I explained everything. Dead serious. Can you help me with something? Anything. I need you to set up monitoring on some financial accounts. Sylvia's been posting about their spending on social media, restaurants, shopping trips, Beckett's college prep courses. I want to know where that money's coming from. You think they're in financial trouble? I think Dad wouldn't sell my car unless he was desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. Athena was quiet for a moment. Send me their names and any account information you can find. I'll see what I can dig up. That night, I sat in my dorm room with my laptop, scrolling through public records. Dad's name appeared on several recent documents, a refinanced mortgage, 2 credit card applications, and something that made my blood run cold, a lien against Mom's life insurance policy. My phone buzzed with a text from Athena. Holy shit, V, your dad owes the IRS 30 grand in back taxes. And get this, Sylvia's been married twice before. Both divorces involved financial irregularities. I screenshot everything and sent it to Olivia. The next morning, I positioned myself across the street from Dad's house with a coffee and my phone camera ready. At exactly 9 a.m., 2 police cars pulled into the driveway. I watched through my camera as Officer Martinez knocked on the front door. Dad answered in his bathrobe, and I could see his face change from confusion to panic in real time. Sylvia appeared behind him, still in her silk pajamas, gesturing wildly. Even from across the street, I could hear her voice rising. This is harassment. We bought that car legally. Ma'am, the title shows the vehicle belongs to Viviana Richardson. The sale was conducted without the owner's consent. She's his daughter. He has every right. Actually, ma'am, he doesn't. That's when they brought out the tow truck. Sylvia completely lost it. She ran into the driveway in her pajamas, screaming at the tow truck driver, trying to physically block him from hooking up my car. A neighbor started recording on their phone. You can't take that. My son needs it for college. This is theft. Ma'am, please step back, Officer Martinez said calmly. The vehicle is being returned to its rightful owner. Dad just stood there, watching his new wife make a spectacle of herself while the neighbors gathered on their porches. His perfect suburban image crumbling in real time. The tow truck pulled away with my car, and I followed it to the impound lot, where I signed more paperwork and handed over my keys, my real keys, not the copies Dad had made. She's all yours, the clerk said. Looks like she's been well taken care of. I ran my hand over the hood, checking for damage. Not a scratch. Dad might be a thief, but at least he wasn't careless. My phone buzzed with a notification. Someone had already posted Sylvia's meltdown on the neighborhood Facebook page. The video had 37 comments and counting. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove home to my dorm. In my rearview mirror, I could see Dad's house getting smaller, but the satisfaction in my chest kept growing. Round 1, Viviana. The interrogation lasted 3 hours. I know because Athena had positioned herself at the coffee shop across from the police station, timing everything while pretending to study. She texted me updates every 30 minutes. "Your dad just came out looking like he aged 10 years, she wrote. "Sylvia's been pacing the parking lot chain smoking. Didn't know she smoked." "She doesn't," I replied. Stress brings out everyone's true colors. The funds from my car sale, all $8,000, were frozen pending investigation. Dad couldn't access the money, which meant Beckett's tuition payment bounced. The college sent a very polite letter explaining that his enrollment was temporarily suspended pending resolution of financial documentation irregularities. Beckett called me screaming, "You ruined my life! I was supposed to start classes next week." "You ruined your own life when you helped steal my car," I said calmly. "How does it feel to have your future yanked away without warning? Dad said you'd understand eventually." Dad said a lot of things. Most of them were lies. He hung up on me. The neighborhood Facebook drama exploded overnight. Someone had filmed Sylvia's second meltdown when the police came back with a warrant to search their financial records. This time, she'd thrown a potted plant at Officer Martinez. "Sylvia loses it again," read the post caption. It had 200 shares and counting. The comments were brutal. Always knew something was off about that family. "Poor Viviana. Imagine having your own father steal from you." "Sylvia's true colors are showing. Remember when she tried to get the Hendersons' dog taken away because it barked?" I screenshotted everything and sent it to Athena with a laughing emoji. 3 days later, I drove my scholarship-sponsored hybrid to campus. The financial aid office had approved my application for emergency transportation assistance after I explained my situation. The car was small, efficient, and completely mine. No co-signers, no family drama attached. I parked in the same spot where I used to park my Honda and walked to my first class of the semester. Professor Williams was discussing contract law when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is your father. We need to talk." I deleted it without responding. That evening, I sat in my dorm room with a box I'd retrieved from storage, Mom's personal papers that Dad had never bothered to go through. Most of it was mundane: old bills, insurance documents, appointment cards. But buried at the bottom, I found something that made my hands shake. A journal entry dated 2 months before she died. "Douglas thinks I don't know about the credit cards he's been opening in my name. He thinks I don't see the bills he intercepts. I've been documenting everything. If something happens to me, I want Viviana to know the truth about what kind of man her father really is." There were photocopies of statements, forged signatures, loan applications, all in Mom's name, all signed by Dad. She'd been building a case against him before cancer took her away. I called Olivia immediately. "I need to see you. Tonight if possible. I found something." "How bad is it?" "Bad enough that I think Mom knew she was married to a criminal." Olivia's office was dark except for her desk lamp when I arrived at 9 p.m. She examined each document carefully, occasionally making notes. "This is fraud," she said finally. "Identity theft, forgery, possibly tax evasion. Your mother was very thorough. What can we do with it? We can destroy your father's life." She looked up at me over her glasses. "The question is, how far are you willing to go?" I thought about Dad's words. "He's more of a son to me than you've ever been a daughter. As far as it takes." The next morning, I found a thick manila envelope on my dorm room door with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a copy of my car's title with a handwritten note. "Next time, look closer before you steal from someone who learned from the best teacher, watching you destroy everything you touch. V." I'd had Athena deliver it to Dad's house at 6 a.m., right when he'd be getting his morning paper. The neighbors would see the delivery, wonder about the official-looking envelope, maybe ask questions. My phone rang 5 minutes later. Dad's number. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again and again. By noon, he'd called 17 times. I didn't answer any of them, but I listened to every voicemail. They started angry, moved to desperate, and ended with something that sounded almost like begging. Viviana, please, we can work this out. I made a mistake. Call me back. I saved every message and forwarded them to Olivia. Evidence of harassment, she said when I called her. Keep documenting everything. This is just the beginning. That night, Athena sent me a link to the neighborhood Facebook page. Someone had posted a photo of Dad's house with 3 for sale signs in the yard. Looks like the Richardson family is having some financial difficulties, the caption read. The comments were already starting. Dad called 32 times in one day. I counted because Athena was keeping a spreadsheet of his harassment attempts. She'd turned it into a drinking game. Every time he called, we took a sip of coffee. By 3 p.m., we were both jittery from caffeine and laughing at his increasingly desperate voicemails. Viviana, this has gone far enough. I'm your father, for God's sake. Your father seems to have forgotten that family works both ways, Athena said, marking another tally on her notebook. The real entertainment started when Sylvia turned on him. I knew this because Mrs. Henderson from next door had started a group chat with half the neighborhood, sharing updates like she was reporting live from a war zone. Sylvia just threw a suitcase out the front door, she texted. Douglas is standing in the driveway in his underwear trying to pick up his clothes. She's screaming something about him scheming behind her back and ruining her reputation, added Mrs. Chen from across the street. Wait, she just threw his golf clubs. One almost hit the mailman. I screenshot the entire conversation and sent it to Athena with crying laughing emojis. But the real chaos started when Beckett decided to cope with his college rejection by going completely off the rails. Your stepbrother just crashed into the Hendersons' fence, Athena said, bursting into my dorm room with her laptop. It's all over Instagram. She showed me the video. Beckett stumbling out of Sylvia's white SUV at 2 a.m., clearly drunk, trying to explain to the police why he'd plowed through 3 mailboxes and a decorative garden gnome. I was just trying to get home, officer. My family's going through some stuff right now. Son, have you been drinking? Define drinking. The arresting officer was not amused. Oh, it gets better, Athena said, scrolling to another post. Look what I found in his college application. She'd pulled up Beckett's admissions essay, the one that had supposedly gotten him into State University before the tuition payment bounced. I read the first paragraph and my jaw dropped. This is from a sample essay website, I said. He copied it word for word. Every single paragraph. I ran it through plagiarism software. It's a 98% match to an essay titled Why Business School Will Change My Life, posted on essayexamples.com 3 years ago. I stared at the screen. He didn't even bother to change the name of the university. Nope. Still says Northwestern in paragraph 3, even though he applied to State. Send this to State's admissions office. Already did. Anonymous tip from a concerned citizen who noticed irregularities in the application. The response came back within hours. Beckett was permanently blacklisted from the university system for academic fraud. Not suspended, blacklisted. As in, he could never apply to any state school again. Sylvia's reaction was nuclear. The neighborhood group chat lit up around dinner time. She's back outside screaming at Douglas. Something about your daughter destroying our lives. Wait, she just said something about lawyers. Douglas is shaking his head. Oh my God, she just slapped him. Someone's recording this on their Ring doorbell. Posted to Facebook already. 47 shares in 10 minutes. I clicked the link Mrs. Henderson shared. The video was grainy, but the audio was crystal clear. How did that girl outsmart you? You're supposed to be the smart one. You're supposed to be in control. Sylvia, calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. My son's future is ruined because your daughter is a vindictive little... She's not vindictive. She's smart. Smarter than I gave her credit for. So you're taking her side now? I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm trying to figure out how to fix this. Fix this? Douglas, we're broke. The IRS is auditing us. Beckett can't get into any college. Our neighbors think we're criminals. How exactly do you plan to fix this? The video cut off there, but the damage was done. Within an hour, it had been shared to 3 different Facebook groups, and someone had posted it on TikTok with the caption, "When you mess with the wrong daughter." My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. This ends now." "Dad." I showed it to Athena. "You going to respond?" "Eventually, but not yet. Let him sweat a little longer." "How much longer?" I watched the view count on Sylvia's meltdown video climb past 500 shares. Comments were pouring in from people I'd never heard of, all taking my side, all calling Dad and Sylvia exactly what they were, thieves and bullies who'd finally met their match. "Until they realize that this isn't about the car anymore," I said. "This is about 4 years of being treated like I don't matter. This is about Mom's memory being disrespected. This is about them learning that actions have consequences. And how long will that take?" I smiled, watching another notification pop up. Someone had created a hashtag, #Justice for Viviana. However long it takes. The package arrived on a Tuesday with no return address, just my name written in block letters across brown paper wrapping. Inside was a manila folder thick with documents and a handwritten note. "Thought you should see what your father's been hiding." K. Walton, Kelvin, Olivia's brother, the private investigator she'd mentioned in passing. I'd never met him, but apparently he'd been doing some digging. I spread the papers across my dorm room floor. Bank statements, loan applications, insurance documents, all with Dad's signature, but not all in his name. The first document made my stomach drop. A loan application from 2 years ago. Dad had used Mom's Social Security number to secure a $15,000 personal loan 18 months after she died. "Athena, get over here," I called, my hands shaking as I flipped through more papers. "Bring coffee, strong coffee." She arrived 20 minutes later with 2 large cups and took one look at my face. "What did you find?" "Dad's been using Mom's identity for years. Look at this." I showed her a credit card statement dated 6 months after Mom's funeral. The billing address was our house, but the name was Marin Richardson, my dead mother. "Holy shit," Athena whispered. "He's been committing identity theft against his own dead wife?" "It gets worse." I pulled out another document. "Remember Mom's life insurance policy? The one that was supposed to pay for my college? The one that mysteriously wasn't enough to cover your expenses? Turns out it was $75,000. Dad used $30,000 of it to pay off credit card debt, $20,000 as a down payment on Sylvia's engagement ring, and another $15,000 for Beckett's private high school tuition." Athena stared at the papers. "What about the remaining $10,000? I held up a bank statement. Vacation to Europe with Sylvia last summer while I was working double shifts to pay for textbooks. This is fraud, like serious federal crime fraud. There's more." I pulled out a folder labeled Insurance Claims. Dad filed a claim on Mom's car insurance after she died, saying the car was totaled in an accident, collected $8,000, and then sold the car privately for another $5,000. "But your mom's car wasn't totaled." "No, it's sitting in Sylvia's driveway. She's been driving it for 2 years. Athena sat back on her heels. "Your father is a genuine sociopath." My phone rang. Olivia's number. "Did you get Kelvin's package?" she asked without preamble. "I'm looking at it now. How long has he been investigating?" "Since your mother got sick. She hired him when she started suspecting Douglas was stealing from her medical fund. She never got to see the final report." "Mom knew?" "She suspected. The evidence Kelvin gathered confirms everything. Your mother was building a case against your father when she died." I picked up a document I hadn't noticed before, a handwritten letter in Mom's shaky handwriting, dated a week before she passed. Olivia, there's a letter here, from Mom. Read it. My voice cracked as I read aloud. If something happens to me, I want Viviana to know that her father stole from us. He took money meant for her education, her future, her security. I documented everything because I knew she'd need proof someday. Douglas thinks he's smart, but he's just greedy, and greedy people always leave trails. Athena grabbed my hand. There's more, I continued reading. I've set aside money in an account he doesn't know about. Olivia has the details. It's not much, but it's clean money, money he never touched. Use it to fight back, baby girl. Use it to show him that stealing from family has consequences. The account has $12,000 in it, Olivia said quietly. Your mother saved it from her part-time job at the library. Every penny accounted for. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. What do I do with all this? We take it to the authorities, the IRS, the FBI Fraud Division, the State Attorney General. Your father committed multiple felonies. Will it stick? With this evidence, he's looking at 5 to 10 years minimum. After I hung up, Athena and I sat in silence for a long time, surrounded by the proof of Dad's betrayal. You know what the worst part is? I finally said. What? He made me think I wasn't worth investing in, made me believe I had to earn every scrap of love and support. Meanwhile, he was stealing my inheritance to buy jewelry for his girlfriend. What are you going to do? I gathered up the documents and put them back in the folder. I'm going to visit Mom's grave. I need to tell her I'm going to finish what she started. And then I picked up my phone and scrolled to the contact information for the IRS fraud hotline that Kelvin had thoughtfully included in his package. Then I'm going to make sure Dad learns the same lesson he tried to teach me, that actions have consequences, even if it means he goes to prison. I looked at the letter in Mom's handwriting, at the proof of years of theft and lies, especially if it means he goes to prison. The IRS moved faster than I expected. Dad's accounting firm received a visit on Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, his name was being whispered in every office building downtown. By Friday, he was taking a leave of absence to handle personal matters. Translation: he's radioactive, Athena said, reading the company's press release on her phone. No one wants to hire an accountant who's under federal investigation for tax fraud. The banking institutions moved even faster. Sylvia got served with papers on Saturday morning while she was getting her nails done. According to Mrs. Henderson's play-by-play in the neighborhood chat, Sylvia screamed so loud that 3 other customers left without paying. The bank wants to examine every transaction from the past 5 years, I told Olivia during our Monday meeting. How screwed are they? Completely, especially since Beckett drained their savings account last week. He what? Olivia pulled out a bank statement. Your stepbrother withdrew $8,000 in cash over 3 days. ATM records show he hit 5 different machines between here and Atlantic City. He gambled away their emergency fund? What emergency fund? They've been living paycheck to paycheck for months. The house is mortgaged to the hilt. They have 6 maxed out credit cards, and now the IRS has frozen their primary accounts. I stared at the numbers. They're broke. Worse than broke. They're in debt up to their eyeballs with no way to pay it back. That's when Beckett decided to get creative with his income sources. Athena discovered it first, scrolling through a sketchy app called Quick Cash where people sold everything from used furniture to questionable services. Look at this, she said, showing me her phone. User profile Beckett C18, selling premium tutoring services and academic assistance. I read the listings. He's selling fake transcripts and forged recommendation letters. Gets better. He's also offering to take online classes for people for $500 a pop. That's academic fraud on a massive scale. And identity theft, since he's using fake student IDs. Athena scrolled through more listings. Oh, and he's selling authentic designer handbags that are obviously knockoffs from China. Screenshot everything. Already did. Also reported him to the app, the Better Business Bureau, and the local police. The arrest happened Tuesday morning. Beckett was in handcuffs by 10 a.m., charged with wire fraud, identity theft, and operating an unlicensed business. The local news picked up the story because of the connection to Dad's ongoing investigation. Son of embattled accountant arrested in online fraud scheme, read the headline. Dad showed up at my campus that afternoon. I was walking out of my economics class when I saw him standing by the student center, looking like he'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. His usually perfect hair was messy, his expensive suit wrinkled, and he had the hollow-eyed look of someone who hadn't slept in days. "Viviana!" I kept walking. "Please, just 5 minutes, I'm begging you." Students were starting to stare. A few had their phones out, probably recognizing him from the news coverage. "You're embarrassing yourself," I said without stopping. "I don't care. I need to talk to you." "Now you want to talk? Where was this energy when you were stealing my car?" He grabbed my arm. "I made a mistake, okay? I was desperate. The business was failing. Sylvia was pressuring me about Beckett's future. Let go of me. I never meant for it to go this far. I thought you'd understand eventually. You thought I'd roll over and take it like I always do." I pulled my arm free. "You thought wrong. I'm your father." The words echoed across the courtyard. A small crowd had gathered, phones definitely recording now. "You lost the right to call me daughter the day you sold me out." I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. "It was all her idea, huh? That's funny because I have a recording of you admitting otherwise." His face went white. "What recording?" "The one where you told your golf buddy that you needed to teach me a harsh life lesson about how the real world works. The one where you bragged about showing me my place in the family hierarchy." "Viviana, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're a thief, a liar, and a fraud. And now everyone else understands it too." I walked away, leaving him standing there while students whispered and pointed. Someone had definitely gotten it all on video. By evening, "Desperate Dad Confronts Daughter on Campus" was trending on TikTok. The comments were brutal. "This is what happens when you mess with the wrong kid. Dad really thought she'd just forgive and forget. Delusional. The audacity of this man showing up at her school after stealing from her. She handled that with more grace than he deserved." That night, Sylvia filed for legal separation. The papers cited irreconcilable differences and financial malfeasance as grounds for ending the marriage. "She's trying to distance herself from the criminal charges," Olivia explained when she called with the update. "Smart move, legally speaking. Will it work?" "Not with the evidence we have. She benefited directly from the stolen money. The engagement ring alone is enough to implicate her." I hung up and looked out my dorm window at the campus quad, where students were walking to evening classes and study groups, living normal lives without federal investigations and family warfare. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This isn't over. D." I screenshot it and forwarded it to Olivia with a message. "Add this to the harassment file." Then I blocked the number and went back to studying for my midterms. Some things were more important than Dad's threats. The recording I mentioned to Dad, it was real. 3 weeks before he sold my car, I'd planted a voice recorder in his home office. Call it paranoia. Call it intuition. I knew something was coming, and I wanted proof of whatever he was planning. The device was smaller than a thumb drive, stuck under his desk with magnetic tape. It had been recording everything for weeks. Phone calls, meetings with Sylvia, conversations with his lawyer. But the conversation I was looking for happened on a Tuesday night, 2 days before my car disappeared. Dad was on the phone with his golf buddy Marcus, bragging about his brilliant parenting strategy. "She's gotten too comfortable," Dad's voice said through my laptop speakers as Athena and I listened in my dorm room. "Living here rent-free, acting like she owns the place. It's time she learned how the real world works. What are you planning to do? Marcus asked. Sell her car. Use the money for Beckett's tuition. 2 birds, 1 stone. She learns about sacrifice, and my stepson gets the education he deserves. Douglas? That seems harsh. Didn't she buy that car herself? With what money? Everything she has came from me indirectly. The job I helped her get, the roof over her head, the food she eats. It's all connected. She needs to understand that family means making sacrifices for each other. And if she doesn't see it that way, Dad's laugh was cold. Then she'll learn the hard way that I'm still the parent here. I'm teaching her a valuable lesson about hierarchy and respect. Sometimes you have to be cruel to be kind. You sure Sylvia's okay with this? It was her idea. She pointed out that Viviana's been acting entitled lately, like she's better than the rest of us. This will humble her. Athena paused the recording. Holy shit, V. This is damning. Keep listening. It gets worse. The conversation continued with Dad detailing his plan. How he'd forge my signature on the title transfer. How he'd present it as a done deal so I couldn't argue. How he'd frame it as a family decision that I had no choice but to accept. The beauty of it is she can't do anything about it, Dad said. She's 19, financially dependent, and legally I still have rights as her father. By the time she realizes what happened, the money will be gone and Beckett will be enrolled. What's she going to do, call the police on her own father? Marcus sounded uncomfortable. I don't know, Douglas. This feels like it could backfire. Trust me. I know my daughter. She'll be upset for a while, but she'll get over it. She always does. She's too soft to fight back. That was the line that sealed his fate. I'd spent 2 weeks editing the audio, isolating the clearest parts, and creating a transcript. Then I sat on it, waiting for the right moment to deploy it. The moment came when a local news reporter reached out for comment on Dad's fraud investigation. Jennifer Walsh from Channel 7 had been covering the story and wanted to interview me about the family dispute that led to federal charges. I don't usually do interviews, I told her over the phone, but I have something you might find interesting. We met at a coffee shop near campus. Jennifer was younger than I expected, maybe early 30s, with sharp eyes and a recorder that she placed between us on the table. Tell me about your relationship with your father, she began. My father is a man who believes family exists to serve his interests. When that stopped working, he decided to teach me a lesson. What kind of lesson? I slid a flash drive across the table. The kind where he brags to his friends about stealing from his own daughter to prove a point about hierarchy and respect. Jennifer plugged the drive into her laptop and listened to the audio. Her eyebrows climbed higher with each sentence. This is him admitting to premeditated theft, she said. It's him admitting that he stole my car to teach me a lesson about knowing my place. And it's him admitting that the whole thing was his wife's idea to humble me. Are you willing to go on camera with this? Absolutely. The story aired that night during the 6 p.m. news. Exclusive. Audio recording reveals motive behind local fraud case. Ran with clips of the recording and my interview. My father wanted to teach me about sacrifice and family loyalty, I said, looking directly into the camera. What he actually taught me was that some people will steal from their own children and call it love. Well, I learned that lesson, and now he's learning mine. The audio went viral within hours. Someone uploaded it to TikTok with the caption, Dad admits to stealing daughter's car to teach her respect. It had 50,000 views by midnight. The comments were savage. This man really recorded his own confession and didn't realize it. The audacity to call theft a life lesson. She's too soft to fight back. How's that working out for you now, Douglas? This is what happens when you underestimate your own kid. By morning, Dad got recorded was trending, and the story had been picked up by 3 national news outlets. My phone rang at 7 a.m. Sylvia's number. You destroyed us, she screamed when I answered. My family is ruined because of your vindictive little recording. Your family ruined itself when you decided to steal from me. It was just a car. It was my future, my independence, my proof that I could survive without you people. Douglas is talking about suicide. Are you happy now? I hung up and blocked her number. Then I called Olivia. Did you see the news? I asked. The whole country saw the news. How are you holding up? Better than expected. How much trouble is Dad in now? With this recording, he just confessed a premeditated fraud on national television. His lawyer is probably having a nervous breakdown. I looked out my window at students walking to class, living their normal lives, while mine played out on the evening news. Good, I said. Let him have a breakdown. I had mine 4 years ago when Mom died and he abandoned me. Now it's his turn. The foreclosure notice appeared on Dad's front door on a Wednesday morning. I wasn't there to see it, but Mrs. Henderson's neighborhood group chat provided live updates with photos. The official yellow paper looked stark against the white door of the house I'd grown up in. Bank's giving them 30 days to vacate, Mrs. Henderson typed. Douglas came out in his bathrobe and just stared at it for 10 minutes. I screenshot the image and sent it to Athena with a single word: karma. Dad's sentencing hearing was scheduled for the following week. The federal prosecutor had offered him a plea deal, 3 years minimum security, in exchange for full restitution and cooperation in investigating other financial crimes at his firm. His lawyer advised him to take it. He's looking at 8 to 10 years if this goes to trial, Olivia explained during our final meeting. The recording sealed his fate. Judges don't like defendants who brag about their crimes. What about Sylvia and Beckett? Sylvia's facing 2 years for conspiracy and receiving stolen goods. Beckett got 18 months for the online fraud scheme, but he'll probably serve 6 months and get probation. And the restitution? Olivia smiled. Every penny your father stole, plus interest, plus penalties. The court valued your mother's stolen identity theft at $127,000. Your car sale was another $8,000. Add in legal fees and damages, and they owe you approximately $150,000. Money they don't have. Money they'll be paying back for the rest of their lives. Their wages will be garnished, their assets seized, their credit destroyed. They'll be lucky to qualify for a studio apartment. I sat in Mom's cemetery that afternoon, reading her journal entries while Athena brought flowers, white roses, Mom's favorites. Listen to this, I said, flipping to an entry from 6 months before she died. Douglas thinks he's teaching Viviana to be tough by withholding his support, but he's actually teaching her to be independent. Someday he'll realize he created exactly the daughter he feared, one who doesn't need him at all. Your mom was psychic, Athena said, arranging the roses on the headstone. She knew him better than he knew himself. My phone buzzed with a notification from the scholarship office. The emergency grant I'd applied for had been approved. $5,000 for educational expenses, funded by a new program I'd helped establish, the Mayran Memorial Fund for Displaced Students. I'd use the money from Mom's secret account to seed the fund, then apply for matching grants from the university and local businesses. It provided emergency assistance to students whose families had cut them off or stolen from them. Students like me, I'd written in the grant proposal, students who need to know that their education matters, even when their families don't support them. The fund had already helped 12 students pay for textbooks, housing deposits, and emergency transportation. Each recipient got a card with Mom's photo and her favorite quote, "Justice is slow, but it never forgets." You know what the best part is? I told Athena as we walked back to campus. What? Dad spent so much energy trying to teach me lessons about respect and hierarchy and knowing my place. He succeeded. I learned exactly where I belong. And where's that? Anywhere, but with people who think love is conditional on obedience. My phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code, the county jail. This is a collect call from Douglas. Will you accept the charges? I looked at Athena, who shook her head vigorously. No, I told the automated system. I will not accept the charges. The call ended. 2 days before Dad's sentencing, I got a text from an unknown number. The house goes to auction next week. Thought you should know. Kelvin. Athena and I drove past the house that evening. A foreclosure auction sign had joined the collection of notices on the front lawn. The windows were dark, the driveway empty except for Dad's old BMW with a boot on the front wheel. You could buy it, Athena said. The auction estimate is only $180,000. You'll have the restitution money soon. I could, I agreed, but I won't. Why not? Because I don't want it. I don't want anything that reminds me of the person I was when I lived there. Small, scared, begging for scraps of approval from people who saw me as disposable. Instead, I had Athena bid on the house using a shell company we'd set up. She won it for $165,000, then immediately donated it to a nonprofit that converted foreclosed homes into transitional housing for domestic violence survivors. The local news covered the story. Anonymous donor converts foreclosed home into women's shelter. I never told them it was me. Dad got 4 years. Sylvia got 18 months. Beckett got probation and community service after agreeing to testify against his mother's involvement in the car theft. I changed my legal name the day after Dad's sentencing. Viviana Walton had a nice ring to it, honoring the woman who'd helped me fight back and the family that had actually supported me. The final twist came when I checked Sylvia's social media one last time. She'd posted a long, rambling message about healing and moving forward and learning from past mistakes. Some people come into our lives to teach us lessons about forgiveness and growth, she'd written. I'm grateful for this opportunity to become a better person. The comments were turned off. I screenshot the post and sent it to Athena with a laughing emoji. She's still trying to control the narrative, Athena replied. Let her. Everyone knows the truth now. I closed the app and deleted it from my phone. Some chapters of your life deserve to end with a period, not a question mark. The Marin Memorial Fund had grown to $50,000 in donations. 23 students had received assistance. And I was graduating summa cum laude with a full ride to law school. Justice might be slow, but it never forgets. And sometimes it comes with interest. I came home from school to find my bed gone. Not moved, not rearranged. Gone. The hardwood floor stretched naked where my twin bed used to sit, dust bunnies marking its ghost like a crime scene outline. My stuffed bear lay abandoned in the corner, looking as confused as I felt. Mom? I called out, dropping my backpack by the door. In here, honey. Teresa's voice drifted from the kitchen, bright and cheerful like she hadn't just sold my furniture. I found her scrolling through her phone at the granite island, a half-empty wine glass beside her manicured fingers. She looked up with that practiced smile she reserved for when she was about to deliver bad news wrapped in fake sweetness. Where's my bed? Oh, that old thing? I sold it this morning. She waved her hand dismissively. The buyer came right after you left for school. Perfect timing, really. My 14-year-old brain struggled to process this. You sold my bed? Where am I supposed to sleep? We'll figure something out. Maybe we can get you an air mattress from Walmart this weekend. She turned back to her phone. Kylie needed some work done for her birthday, and you know how expensive these procedures are getting. The kitchen door swung open, and my sister glided in, her lips noticeably fuller than they'd been yesterday. She caught me staring and posed, tilting her head like she was already filming a TikTok. What do you think? Dr. Martinez said they'll settle in a few days, but I think they look amazing already. Kylie pursed her new lips. Mom, show her the before and after photos. Teresa immediately perked up, swiping through her camera roll. Look at this transformation. My gorgeous girl. The camera is going to love these. I watched them huddle over the phone, cooing over lip filler results while I stood there homeless in my own house. The numbers on the Venmo screenshot made my stomach drop. $800. My bed had been worth $800 to them. That's great, I managed. But seriously, where am I sleeping tonight? Kylie laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. God, Harper, you're so dramatic. It's just a bed. You can sleep on the couch or something. The couch? Or the floor? She shrugged. You're always saying you want to be an artist, right? Think of it as bohemian living. Teresa giggled at this, actually giggled, like my homelessness was the punchline to some inside joke I wasn't part of. Kylie, you're terrible, she said, but her tone was fond, indulgent, the same tone she'd never used with me. I stared at them both, these two women who shared my DNA, but felt like strangers. My throat burned with words I couldn't say, questions I couldn't ask. Like why Kylie's wants always became family emergencies while my needs were inconveniences. Why her Instagram followers mattered more than my sleep. Why I was always the sacrifice on the altar of her success. I have homework, I said finally. Use the dining room table, Teresa called after me as I headed for the stairs. And don't spread your art stuff everywhere. We might have people over later. I climbed to my room and stood in the doorway, staring at the empty space. The walls looked bigger somehow, like they were mocking me. My art supplies sat stacked in milk crates against the wall, the only things they hadn't touched. Probably because they had no resale value. That night, I made a nest of blankets on the floor, my stuffed bear tucked against my chest. The hardwood was unforgiving against my hip bones. Every shift sent pain shooting through my joints, but I didn't go downstairs to the couch. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. Through the thin walls, I could hear Kylie on a video call with her friends, her voice bright with excitement as she showed off her new lips. All thanks to Mom, she kept saying. She's literally the best. I pressed my face into my bear's matted fur and tried not to think about how easily I'd been erased, how my comfort meant nothing when weighed against Kylie's vanity, how I'd become invisible in my own home, a ghost haunting the margins of their perfect mother-daughter story. The worst part wasn't the physical discomfort. It was the casual cruelty of it all, the way they discussed my displacement like it was a minor inconvenience, rather than a betrayal. Like I was a problem to be managed, rather than a person to be considered. I should have known then that this was just the beginning. 4 years later, I filled out my college application in the school library during lunch. Not because I needed the quiet, because I needed to hide. Where are you applying? My guidance counselor had asked during our mandatory meeting. Anywhere that's not here. She laughed like I was joking. I wasn't. The Pacific Northwest Institute of Fine Arts sat 3,000 miles away in a city I'd never visited. Their acceptance rate was 12%. Perfect. The further and harder to get into, the better. I submitted my portfolio on a Tuesday, got accepted on a Thursday, full scholarship. I didn't tell anyone. The hardest part was gathering my things without them noticing. Not that there was much to gather. 18 years of life fit into 2 duffel bags and a backpack. My art supplies took up most of the space. Teresa found me in the kitchen at 5 a.m. on graduation day, stuffing granola bars into my bag. You're up early. Nervous about tonight? She poured herself coffee, still in her silk robe. I can't believe my baby is graduating. Kylie's flying in from Miami just for this. Actually, I'm leaving. She paused mid-sip. Leaving for where? College. In Oregon. Oregon? The word came out like I'd said Mars. What's in Oregon? Art school. Art school? Her voice pitched higher. Harper, we've talked about this. Art isn't a career. It's a hobby. You need something practical, something stable. I shouldered my backpack. I got a full ride. You got when? How? Why didn't you tell us? Because I knew you'd try to stop me. Teresa set down her mug hard enough to slosh coffee onto the counter. Stop you? Honey, I'm trying to help you. This family has always supported your little art phase, but my little art phase, you know what I mean. We let you take those classes, bought you supplies. You bought me a $50 set from Walmart 3 Christmases ago. That's not the point. The point is you're making a huge mistake. What about community college? You could live at home, save money, figure out what you really want to do. I already know what I want to do. Kylie appeared in the doorway, phone in hand, recording. Are you seriously having a breakdown at 5 a.m.? I'm trying to sleep. Harper's running away to art school, Teresa announced, like I was 7 and threatening to live in a treehouse. Kylie lowered her phone. Wait, what? You got into college? Surprised? I mean, yeah, kind of. She looked me up and down. Where? Oregon. Oregon's like trees and rain and hipsters, right? She wrinkled her nose. That actually sounds perfect for you. Teresa shot her a look. This isn't funny, Kylie. She's throwing her life away. Mom, chill. Maybe this is good for her. She's always been weird anyway. The Uber honked outside. That's my ride. Teresa grabbed my arm. Harper, please. Just think about this. You're 18, you don't know what you want yet. Stay home for a year. Work. Save money. Like you did with Kylie. That's different. Kylie has opportunities, connections. Kylie has you. The words hung in the air between us. Teresa's grip loosened. I have to go. When will you be back? Her voice cracked slightly. I don't know. For Christmas? Thanksgiving? I looked at her standing there in her expensive robe, in her perfect kitchen, in the house where I'd never belonged, where my bed had been sold for lip filler and my dreams dismissed as phases. I'll call you. It was a lie, and we both knew it. The Uber driver helped me load my bags. As we pulled away, I saw Teresa in the doorway, still holding her coffee mug. Kylie had already disappeared back upstairs. Airport? The driver asked. Airport. My phone buzzed with texts as we drove. Teresa mostly, a few from Kylie. I turned it off and watched my hometown disappear in the rearview mirror. 6 hours later, I stood in the Portland rain with everything I owned, staring up at a brick building that looked like it had been there since the beginning of time. Students moved around me, hauling easels and paint-stained boxes, talking about exhibitions and critiques, and professors whose names I didn't recognize yet. A girl with purple hair and paint under her fingernails bumped into me. Sorry, you look lost. First day? First everything, she grinned. I'm Eloise. Welcome to the asylum. Harper? Cool name. You have a place to stay yet? I shook my head. There's a couch in my studio apartment. It's not much, but it's yours if you want it. I looked at this stranger offering me shelter, then back at my phone, still dark and silent. That would be amazing. Come on then, let's get you home. Home. The word felt foreign and hopeful all at once. 2 years into art school, I finally learned how to paint rage. It started with a canvas I'd been avoiding for months. Every time I approached it, my hands would shake. Not from nerves, from something deeper. Something that lived in my chest like a caged animal. You're fighting it again, Professor Martinez said, appearing beside my easel during advanced painting. What are you afraid of? I'm not afraid. Then why does every piece you make look like you're apologizing for existing? The words hit like a slap. I stared at my latest work, a soft, pretty landscape that said absolutely nothing. Paint what hurts, he said. Stop painting what you think we want to see. That night, I stayed in the studio until 3 a.m. Eloise found me there the next morning, surrounded by tubes of paint squeezed empty, my hands stained black and red. Jesus, Harper, what happened here? I stepped back from the canvas. A girl curled on a hardwood floor clutching a teddy bear. Shadows stretched across her like prison bars. In the corner, barely visible, glitter and makeup compacts scattered like broken promises. I dreamed about my old room again. Eloise studied the painting, her expression shifting. This is... God, Harper, this is incredible. It's too much. No, it's honest. She touched my shoulder. You should show this. Show it where? The student exhibition. Applications are due next week. I shook my head. I can't. What if someone from home sees it? What if they do? Before I could answer, footsteps echoed in the hallway. A man in an expensive coat appeared in the doorway, scanning the studio with sharp eyes. "Excuse me, is this the advanced painting section?" "Yeah," Eloise said. "Can we help you?" "I'm Brian Webb. I curate for the Morrison Gallery downtown." He stepped into the room, then stopped dead when he saw my painting. "Who did this?" My mouth went dry. "I did." He moved closer, studying every brushstroke. "What's the title?" "It doesn't have one yet. It should be in a gallery. It's just a student piece." "No." His voice was firm. "This is professional work. Raw, powerful, technically excellent." He pulled out his card. "I'm putting together a group show for emerging artists. New voices, difficult subjects. This belongs there." I took the card with trembling fingers. "I don't know if I'm ready." "The painting says you are." After he left, Eloise grabbed my shoulders. "Do you realize what just happened? Brian Webb doesn't give cards to students. He discovers people. What if my family finds out?" "Harper, you haven't talked to them in 2 years. Why do you still care what they think?" "Because they're still in here." I tapped my chest. "Every time I pick up a brush, I hear my mom saying art isn't a real career. Every time I finish something good, I hear Kylie laughing." "Then paint them out." "What?" "Paint them out of your system. All of it. Every cruel word, every dismissal, every time they made you feel invisible." Her eyes blazed. "Make them see you." I spent the next 3 months painting like my life depended on it. Canvas after canvas, each one darker and more honest than the last. A series about invisibility, about being the forgotten daughter, about sleeping on floors while your sister gets surgery. The centerpiece grew larger and more detailed. I added elements I remembered. Kylie's discarded jewelry in the corner, the exact pattern of my childhood wallpaper, the way shadows fell across the hardwood when the overhead light was off. "What are you calling it?" Brian asked during his studio visit. I stared at the painting, seeing myself at 14, homeless in my own house. "Gifted to the favorite." He nodded slowly. "Perfect. Brutal, but perfect." "Are you sure about this? About the show? Harper, I've been curating for 15 years. This work." He gestured at the canvases lining the walls. "This is the kind of art that changes people, that makes them uncomfortable in the best way. What if no one comes?" "They'll come." "Art this honest? It draws people like moths to flame." He paused at the door. "The question is, are you ready for them to see who you really are?" After he left, I sat alone with my paintings. 12 canvases chronicling years of neglect, of being second best, of having my needs sacrificed for someone else's wants. Eloise appeared with coffee and takeout. "So, you doing it?" I looked at Gifted to the Favorite, at the girl who looked like me but smaller, more broken. "Yeah, I'm doing it." "Good." She handed me a container of pad thai. "But Harper?" "Yeah?" "Once this goes public, there's no taking it back. Your story becomes everyone's story." I thought about Teresa and Kylie, living their perfect lives 3,000 miles away, probably not even remembering my name. Maybe it's time they remembered I exist. The gallery opening was supposed to be my night. Small, intimate, maybe 50 people who actually cared about art. I'd invited nobody from my past, so when I saw Teresa's blonde highlights across the crowded room, champagne flute in hand, my blood turned to ice water. "Harper!" Her voice cut through the ambient chatter like nails on a chalkboard. "There's my baby girl!" She swept toward me in a cloud of expensive perfume, arms outstretched like we were having some kind of reunion. Behind her, Kylie followed with her phone, already recording, her lips even fuller than I remembered. "Mom, what are you doing here?" "What do you mean? We couldn't miss our Harper's big debut." Teresa pulled me into a hug that felt like performance art. "We're so proud of you, honey. Finally making something of yourself. Kylie lowered her phone. This place is actually pretty cool. Very artsy. She said it like she was commenting on an exotic zoo exhibit. How did you even find out about this? Mackenzie saw your name on some gallery Instagram story. She follows all the Portland influencer accounts. Kylie gestured to a girl hovering nearby, also filming. Small world, right? Mackenzie waved. Love your aesthetic. Very tortured artist meets urban decay. I stared at them. These three women treating my trauma like a networking event. How did you get here so fast? We flew up this morning, Teresa said. Kylie had a brand partnership meeting in Seattle anyway, so we made it a girls' trip. Surprise! You should have called. We wanted to surprise you. Besides, you never answer your phone anymore. Teresa's smile faltered slightly. We've missed you, Harper. The house feels so empty without you. A couple approached us, wine glasses in hand, clearly wanting to discuss the art. Teresa immediately turned to them with her hostess smile. Hi there! I'm Teresa, Harper's mother. Isn't she just incredible? We always knew she had talent. The woman smiled politely. The work is very powerful, very raw. Oh yes, Harper's always been dramatic. Even as a child, she had such an imagination. I watched Teresa charm these strangers, rewriting history in real time, making herself the supportive mother she'd never been. Excuse me, I said, and walked away. I found refuge near the back wall, pretending to study someone else's sculpture while my hands shook. Eloise appeared beside me with a glass of wine. Those are your people? Unfortunately. They seem intense. That's one word for it. Across the room, I watched Teresa hold court near my paintings, gesturing animatedly as she told stories I'd never heard before. Stories where she was the devoted mother, nurturing my artistic gifts, making sacrifices for my dreams. She's good at this, Eloise observed. She's had practice. Kylie drifted over, phone still in hand. This is actually perfect content. The whole supporting my artist sister angle is very on brand for me right now. Please don't post about this. Why not? It's good for both of us. You get exposure. I get to show my followers I'm cultured. She gestured at the nearest painting. What's this one about? I looked at the canvas she was pointing to, a girl sitting alone at a birthday party, cake untouched, while everyone else celebrated in the background. It's called 16 Candles, One Wish. Cute. Very melancholy chic. She snapped a selfie with it in the background. Oh, people are gathering around that big one over there. Is that yours too? My stomach dropped. A crowd had formed around Gifted to the Favorite, my centerpiece. People were leaning in close, reading the title placard, whispering to each other. Harper, you have to come see this, Brian called out. People are responding incredibly well to your work. I walked over on unsteady legs. The crowd parted as I approached, revealing Teresa standing directly in front of my painting, her face pale as paper. She was staring at the girl on the floor, at me, surrounded by the detritus of Kylie's discarded things. The exact jewelry I remembered, the precise shade of our old wallpaper, the teddy bear that had been my only comfort. Is this... Teresa's voice was barely a whisper. Is this supposed to be you? The crowd had gone quiet, sensing drama. Cameras appeared. Phones lifted. A journalist I didn't recognize stepped forward. Ms. Harper, this piece is incredibly moving. Can you tell us about the inspiration? Is this autobiographical? Teresa's eyes met mine across the silent room. For the first time in my life, I saw fear in them. Yes, I said clearly. It's autobiographical. The crowd murmured. Flashes went off. Kylie stopped mid-selfie, finally understanding what she was looking at. Teresa's champagne flute slipped from her fingers and shattered on the polished concrete floor. Teresa stepped closer to the painting, her heels crunching on broken glass. She studied every detail like she was seeing it for the first time. The hardwood floor, the teddy bear, the glittering makeup scattered in the corner. This is, she pointed at the title placard with a shaking finger. Gifted to the favorite. What does that mean? The journalist moved closer, pen poised. Could you elaborate on the title's significance? I looked at Teresa, at Kylie, who had finally stopped filming, at the crowd of strangers witnessing this moment I'd painted in secret for months. It means exactly what it says. Harper. Teresa's voice dropped to a whisper. Can we talk privately? No. You wanted to be here. You wanted to celebrate my art. So let's celebrate it. A woman in the crowd raised her hand. The child in the painting. She looked so alone. What happened to her bed? It was sold. The words came out steady, clear. To pay for cosmetic surgery. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones lifted higher. Kylie's face went white. Harper, stop. Teresa grabbed my arm. You're embarrassing yourself. Am I? Or am I finally telling the truth? The journalist scribbled frantically. This is a true story? About your childhood? Every detail. Kylie stepped forward, her influencer smile cracking. Guys, this is getting blown out of proportion. Harper's always been dramatic. Dramatic? I turned to face her. Is that what you call sleeping on the floor for 6 months? It wasn't 6 months. You're right, it was 8. Until I saved enough from my part-time job to buy a used mattress. The crowd pressed closer. Someone whispered, This is incredible. Another person said, The raw emotion in this piece makes so much sense now. Mackenzie lowered her phone. Wait, this actually happened? I thought it was metaphorical. The jewelry in the corner, I continued, pointing at the painting. Those are Kylie's earrings. The ones she threw away because they weren't trendy anymore. I kept them because they were pretty, and I never got pretty things. Harper, please. Teresa's voice cracked. The wallpaper pattern is exact. I spent hours staring at it from the floor, memorizing every detail. And the bear, I looked at the stuffed animal in the painting. His name was Chester. He was the only thing in that house that was actually mine. A gallery patron stepped forward. The composition is brilliant. The way the light falls, the positioning, it's like you're inviting us to witness this moment of abandonment. That's exactly what I'm doing. Brian appeared at my elbow. Harper, there's a buyer interested in this piece. The offer is substantial. Teresa whirled around. Someone wants to buy this? To hang in their home? Multiple someones, Brian said. The emotional impact is undeniable. You can't sell this, Teresa hissed. This is private family business. No, I said. This is art. And art is meant to be seen. Kylie tried to restart her live stream, but her hands were shaking. Hey guys, so this is getting super weird. My sister is having some kind of breakdown. Turn off the camera, Kylie. What? No, this is content. Turn it off. Something in my voice made her comply. The crowd watched this family drama unfold like it was performance art. The journalist stepped closer to Teresa. As the mother, how do you respond to these allegations? Allegations? Teresa's voice pitched higher. This is my daughter having a public tantrum. We gave her everything. You gave her nothing. The words came out harder than I intended. You gave Kylie everything. You gave me the floor. We were teaching you resilience. You were teaching me that I didn't matter. An older woman in the crowd spoke up. I have 3 daughters. I can't imagine selling one child's bed to pay for another's cosmetic procedure. It wasn't like that, Teresa said desperately. Harper's being dramatic. She always exaggerates. Then explain the painting. I gestured at the canvas. Explain why I remember every detail so clearly that I could recreate it perfectly 2 years later. Teresa stared at the painting, then at me, then at the crowd of people documenting her humiliation in real time. We need to go, she said to Kylie. Now. But the show just started. Now, Kylie. They pushed through the crowd toward the exit. Mackenzie hesitated, looking between them and her phone. This is going to be everywhere by tomorrow, she said to me. You know that, right? I looked at my painting, at the girl on the floor who looked like me but smaller, more broken. Good. Maybe she'll finally be seen. The crowd erupted in applause as Teresa and Kylie disappeared into the Portland night, leaving me alone with my truth hanging on the wall for everyone to witness. By morning, my phone had 847 notifications. The first article went live at 6 a.m. Emerging artist exposes family trauma in devastating gallery debut. By noon, it had been shared 12,000 times. Eloise burst into my apartment with coffee and her laptop. Harper, you need to see this. She pulled up a blog called Art and Truth with my painting as the header image. Listen to this, she said, reading aloud. Harper's work transcends traditional family portraiture to expose the brutal psychology of favoritism. The child on the floor isn't just sleeping. She's been erased, made invisible by the very people meant to protect her. The scattered makeup in the corner tells a story of misplaced priorities, of a family that values appearance over humanity. My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. Your art saved my life. I was the forgotten daughter, too. Another buzz. Thank you for painting what I could never say. There's more, Eloise continued. The blogger interviewed people who were at the gallery. Listen, when the artist's mother appeared at the opening, the contrast was stark. Here was a woman who had clearly never seen her daughter's pain, confronted with it in high-definition detail. The public reckoning was as much a part of the art as the painting itself. My phone rang. Brian's name flashed on the screen. Harper, we need to talk. Can you come in? 20 minutes later, I sat in his office while he spread newspaper clippings across his desk. Portland Tribune, Seattle Times, even the LA Times picked it up. He looked up at me. How are you handling this? I don't know. It feels surreal. Good surreal or bad surreal? Before I could answer, his assistant knocked. Brian, there's a woman here demanding to speak with Harper. She says she's her mother. My stomach dropped. She came back? Should I send her in? Teresa entered like a storm system, her face flushed with rage. She slammed a printed article on Brian's desk. This ends now. I want that painting removed immediately. Brian didn't flinch. I'm sorry, but that's not how galleries work. I don't care how they work. That painting is defamatory. It's making our family look like monsters. Is it defamatory if it's true? I asked. Teresa whirled on me. True? Harper, you've twisted everything. We gave you a roof over your head, food, clothes. You gave me the floor for a few weeks. 8 months. It wasn't 8 months. Then how long was it, Mom? Since you remember so clearly, she faltered. It was temporary. We were going to get you a new bed. When? After Kylie's next procedure? Her next photo shoot? Her next crisis that required my sacrifice? Brian cleared his throat. Perhaps this conversation should happen privately. No. Teresa pointed at him. You're exploiting my daughter's mental health issues for profit. Mental health issues? I stood up. Is that what you're calling it now? Harper, you need help. This obsession with the past, this need for attention. Attention? My voice rose. I disappeared for 2 years. I didn't call, didn't visit, didn't exist in your world. How is that attention-seeking? You ran away like a child. I left like an adult who finally realized she'd never matter to you. Teresa's composure cracked. That's not true. I love you. You love the idea of me, the version that doesn't inconvenience you or make you look bad. I gestured at the articles on Brian's desk. But you never loved the real me. The one who needed a bed, who wanted birthday parties, who dreamed of being an artist. I supported your art. You called it a phase, because I was trying to protect you from disappointment. No, you were protecting yourself from having a daughter who didn't fit your perfect family image. Brian's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and looked up. Harper, I hate to interrupt, but there's someone from the Whitney Museum on line 1. They want to discuss acquiring the piece. Teresa went pale. The Whitney, as in New York? As in one of the most prestigious museums in the country, Brian confirmed. They want to buy my painting? They want to feature it in their upcoming exhibition on contemporary family dynamics. It would tour nationally. Teresa sank into a chair. Nationally? Mom? I looked at her sitting there, finally understanding the scope of what I'd unleashed. You can fight this, hire lawyers, try to discredit me. But the painting exists. The truth exists. And now everyone can see it. She looked up at me with something I'd never seen before. Defeat. Why? She whispered. Why did you have to make it so public? Because private didn't work. I tried being quiet, being invisible, being the good daughter who didn't make waves, and you still sold my bed. Brian picked up his phone. Should I tell the Whitney you're interested? I looked at Teresa one more time, this woman who had shaped my childhood through absence and neglect. Tell them yes. Teresa stood up slowly, aged a decade in the span of our conversation. You'll regret this, Harper. When the attention dies down and you're left with nothing but burned bridges. Maybe. But at least I'll have my truth. She left without another word, and I sat in the silence she left behind, wondering if victory was supposed to feel this empty. 3 weeks after the Whitney announcement, a package arrived at my apartment with no return address. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper, was Chester, my childhood teddy bear, the one from the painting. His fur was matted and gray, one eye hanging by a thread. But it was definitely him. No note, no explanation. Just Chester, smelling like dust and old memories. Eloise found me sitting on my kitchen floor, holding him. Where did that come from? I don't know. Someone left it outside my door. She sat down beside me. Your mom? Maybe. Or Kylie. I touched Chester's worn ear. I haven't seen him since I left home. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. Thought you might want him back. Dad? I stared at the screen. Wayne. My father, who'd been absent for most of my childhood, who'd left when the fighting got too bad, who'd never fought for custody or even regular visits. It's from my dad. Your dad? When's the last time you talked to him? High school graduation. Maybe. Another text appeared. Can we talk? I'm in Portland for work. I showed Eloise the message. Are you going to respond? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Wayne's name on the screen. Harper? I wasn't sure you'd still have the same number. Dad. The word felt strange in my mouth. I saw the articles about your art show, about, he paused, about what happened with your bed. You read about that? It's everywhere, kiddo. My coworkers were talking about it. Local artist exposes family trauma. I didn't realize it was you until I saw your name. I pressed Chester against my chest. Where did you find him? Your mom's garage sale last weekend. She was selling everything from your old room. I bought what I could. She was selling my stuff? The house is going up for sale. She's downsizing, moving to a condo. His voice was quiet. Harper, I need to tell you something. Can we meet? There's a coffee shop on Burnside. I know the one. An hour later, I sat across from Wayne in a crowded cafe, Chester tucked in my bag. My father looked older, grayer, worn down by years I hadn't been part of. You look good, he said. Successful. I'm proud of you. Are you? I know I don't have the right to be, but yes. The barista called out drink orders. Steam hissed from the espresso machine. Normal sounds for an abnormal conversation. Why didn't you take me with you? The question came out before I could stop it. When you left Mom, why didn't you fight for me? Wayne's hands wrapped around his coffee cup. Because I was a coward. Because I thought you were better off with stability. Even if that stability was... He gestured helplessly. I told myself Teresa would protect you. She didn't. I know that now. I knew it then, if I'm being honest. But leaving felt like drowning, and I could only save myself. What about Kylie? Kylie was always Teresa's. From the day she was born, they were a unit. You were... He looked at me. You were mine, and I abandoned you. A couple at the next table was arguing quietly about money. Their voices reminded me of my parents before the divorce, before Wayne disappeared entirely. I tried calling after you graduated, he continued. Teresa said you'd gone to college but wouldn't give me your number. Said you didn't want contact with me. She never told me you called. I figured as much. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through photos. I kept track of you, though. Found your art school's website, saw some of your early work posted online. He showed me a screenshot of a painting I'd done freshman year, a landscape with a lone figure walking away from a house. I should have reached out then. Should have tried harder. He put the phone away. But I was ashamed. Still am. Of what? Of being the father who left. Of letting Teresa erase you while I stood by and did nothing. I thought about the painting hanging in galleries across the country now, about the thousands of people who'd seen my story, about the interviews and articles that kept coming. The bed, I said. Did you know about the bed? His face crumpled. Not until I read the article. When I saw that detail, He shook his head. I called Teresa, asked her if it was true. What did she say? That you were exaggerating, that it wasn't as bad as you made it sound. He looked at me. But I know you, Harper. You were always honest, even when it hurt. If you painted it, it happened. It happened. I'm sorry. I'm so goddamn sorry. We sat in silence while the cafe buzzed around us. Father and daughter, strangers connected by shared guilt and missed opportunities. What now? I asked. I don't know. I don't have the right to ask for forgiveness. No, you don't. But I want you to know, if I could go back, I would have taken you with me. I would have fought for you. I looked at this broken man across from me, offering apologies that came years too late. I know, I said finally, but you can't go back. No, I can't. I stood up, shouldering my bag with Chester inside. Thank you for bringing him back. Harper, wait. I turned at the door. I love you. I know I have no right to say it, but I do. I always have. The words hung in the air between us, heavy with everything we'd lost. I know, I said again, and walked out into the Portland rain. The new apartment had hardwood floors, but this time I chose them. I stood in the empty living room, watching Eloise direct the movers as they brought in my easel, my canvases, my life rebuilt from scratch. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, nothing like the dim cave I'd grown up in. Where do you want the big piece? One of the movers asked. I looked at the wrapped canvas, a copy of Gifted to the Favorite that I'd kept before the original went to the Whitney. Against that wall, where I can see it while I work. Eloise raised an eyebrow. You sure about that? Seems like it might be intense to look at every day. That's the point. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Saw your interview in Art Forum. You destroyed our family for what? Fame? Kylie. I'd changed my number twice, but she always found me. Another text. Mom's in therapy now. Hope you're happy. I showed Eloise the messages. Block her again? No, let her send them. I set the phone down. Her anger means she's finally paying attention. The movers finished and left us alone in my new space. Eloise uncorked a bottle of wine while I unwrapped the painting. Even as a copy, it still hit like a punch to the chest. That girl on the floor, surrounded by the debris of her sister's discarded life. Do you regret it? Eloise asked, handing me a glass. The whole thing? I studied the painting, remembering the gallery opening, Teresa's face when she realized what she was looking at, the articles that followed, the way my story spread across the internet like wildfire. Ask me that question a different way. Okay, was it worth it? I thought about the messages I'd received. Hundreds of them from people who'd seen themselves in that girl on the floor. People who'd been forgotten, overlooked, sacrificed for a sibling's shine. A woman in Ohio wrote to me last week. She said the painting gave her the courage to leave her emotionally abusive family. A teenager in Texas said it helped her realize she wasn't crazy, that her feelings were valid. That's not what I asked. Yes, it was worth it. My laptop chimed with an email notification. The subject line made me freeze. From Teresa. What is it? Eloise looked over my shoulder. I opened the email. No greeting, no signature. Just, the house sold. Thought you should know. Attached was a photo. The empty room that used to be mine, stripped bare, sunlight streaming across the hardwood floor where I'd slept for 8 months. She sent you a picture of your old room? She's selling the house. Another email arrived. This one from Wayne. Your mother asked me to forward this. Said you'd want to see it. The attachment was a video file. I clicked play. Teresa appeared on screen, sitting in what looked like a therapist's office. Her makeup was minimal, her hair pulled back simply. She looked smaller somehow. Harper, I know you probably won't watch this, but Dr. Martinez thought I should try. She paused, looked off camera, then back. I've been in therapy for 6 weeks now, trying to understand, trying to figure out how I failed you so completely. I gripped my wine glass tighter. I told myself I was teaching you independence, that Kylie needed more help because she was, more fragile. But that wasn't true, was it? You were the one who needed protecting, and Her voice cracked. I chose the easy child over the one who needed me most. Eloise moved closer. Jesus. I can't undo selling your bed. I can't undo the birthdays I forgot, or the art shows I missed, or the way I made you invisible in your own home. Teresa wiped her eyes. But I can admit that you were right. About all of it. And I can tell you that I'm sorry. The video ended. The room fell silent except for the sound of traffic outside my new windows. Wow, Eloise said finally. I stared at the black screen. This woman who'd shaped my childhood through neglect, now asking for something I wasn't sure I could give. My phone rang. Wayne's number. Did you watch it? Yeah. She's been working with a therapist who specializes in family dynamics. Apparently your art show was a wake-up call. Good for her. Harper, she wants to see you, to talk. I looked at the painting on my wall, at the girl who'd been me, broken and alone on a cold floor, maybe someday, but not today. That's fair. After I hung up, Eloise refilled our wine glasses. So what now? You've got your revenge, your recognition, your new life. What comes next? I walked to my easel, picked up a brush, dipped it in black paint. On the blank canvas, I made a single mark, not angry or desperate, but deliberate, controlled. Now I paint what comes after revenge, which is, I made another mark, then another, watching something new take shape under my hands. I don't know yet, but it's mine to discover. Outside my windows, Portland hummed with your life. Inside, I stood in my chosen space, holding my chosen brush, finally free to create without the weight of their expectations or their neglect. Revenge had given me justice, but this quiet moment of pure possibility, this was peace. The painting grew under my hands, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't painting what hurt. I was painting what healed.
The text message glowed on my screen like a slap in the face. Sold your car. You weren't using it anyway. I blinked hard, wondering if exhaustion from my latest graphic design project was making me hallucinate. But no, there it was, sent from my mother at 2:47 p.m., as casual as if she was telling me we were out of milk. My name is Noelle, and I was about to discover just how disposable I was to my own family. I rushed outside my apartment, heart pounding. The spot where my silver Honda Accord should have been sitting was empty. I'd bought that car myself, making payments for 3 years while working extra freelance jobs. The title was in my name. Mrs. Peterson, my elderly neighbor who spent most days tending her front garden, waved me over. "Oh, honey, I was wondering about that. A tow truck came for your car 3 days ago. I thought maybe you'd arranged it." 3 days? My voice cracked. "Did you see who called them?" "Your mother and that new husband of hers. They had some paperwork. Said they were authorized to move it." She frowned. Something seemed off, but I didn't want to intrude. I pulled out my phone, dialing my mother's number, straight to voicemail. Same with Raphael, my stepfather. I tried the house phone, no answer there either. Opening Instagram, I scrolled through my feed until I froze. There was my mother, posted an hour ago, beaming in front of a Hawaiian sunset. Next to her stood my stepbrother Evan, throwing a shaka sign while holding a coconut drink. The caption read, "Surprise graduation trip for my baby boy. Blessed Welsh family first." My hands shook as I drove to their house. The garage door was shut, lights off. Through the window, I could see the kitchen counter covered in scattered papers. They'd left in a hurry. I still had my key. Inside, the house smelled of my mother's expensive perfume and Raphael's cigars. On the kitchen table lay a crumpled printout. Airline tickets for 3 to Honolulu, dated yesterday. First class. The total made my stomach turn. "They sold my car to pay for his vacation," I whispered to the empty room. The reality of it hit me like a physical blow. I sank into a chair, remembering my own high school graduation 4 years ago. I'd worked 3 jobs that summer: barista in the morning, retail in the afternoon, data entry at night. My mother hadn't even shown up to the ceremony. "Oh, honey, I had a migraine," she'd said later, not looking up from her phone. The filing cabinet in the corner caught my eye. My grandmother's old organizational system. Before dementia took her mind and landed her in a care facility, she'd been meticulously organized. I pulled open the drawer, needing something to do with my hands. Inside, folders were labeled in her precise handwriting: tax records, insurance, legal documents. My fingers brushed against a thick manila envelope I'd never noticed before. Opening it, I found a notarized document dated 5 years ago. Power of attorney. My grandmother's signature was clear and steady. This was from before her decline, and there, listed as her designated agent with full legal authority, was my name. My phone buzzed. A new Instagram post: my mother, Raphael, and Evan lounging by a resort pool. "Living our best life. Sometimes you just have to treat yourself." Oh, Hannah. I looked back at the power of attorney document, then at my phone. Something cold and calculating clicked into place in my mind. They thought they could just take whatever they wanted from me, that I was too quiet, too passive to fight back. My fingers trembled as I took a photo of the document. Then I opened my contacts and scrolled to my cousin Rosalind's number. She was a real estate agent now. She'd know exactly what this meant. "Hey, Roz," I said when she answered. "Remember how you said you owed me a favor? I need some help with property records." "Of course," she replied. "What's going on?" I looked around at the house my grandmother had bought, that my mother now lived in as if she owned it. The house I'd been quietly paying property taxes on for years because family helps family, while they treated me like an afterthought. "I think it's time for some changes around here," I said, my voice steady. "Big ones." Through the window, I could see Mrs. Peterson still in her garden. She waved again, sympathetic. I waved back, managing a small smile. They thought they could just take my car and fly off to paradise. Paradise was about to get very expensive. My phone rang at 7 a.m. the next morning. Hawaii time, they were probably just getting back from breakfast. "Noelle, honestly, you're being ridiculous." My mother's voice dripped with condescension. "The car was just sitting there most days while you work from home." "We needed the money for Evan's graduation trip." I gripped my coffee mug tighter. "That was my car, Mom. I bought it. The title was in my name." "Oh, please, don't be so dramatic. You can use my old Toyota when we get back." "Family shares, sweetheart." In the background, I heard splashing and laughter. Evan's voice carried over the line. "Mom, come on. The surf instructor's waiting." "Just a minute, honey," she called back. To me, listen, Noel, you need to stop being so selfish. Evan worked really hard to graduate. He deserves this. Worked hard? I couldn't hold back a bitter laugh. He barely passed, and you know it. Meanwhile, I graduated with honors while working 3 jobs, and you didn't even show up. That was different, she snapped. I was going through a lot then. Raphael's voice joined the conversation. Noel, your mother and I made an executive decision as the heads of this family. It's all family money, anyway. More laughter from Evan in the background. I could picture them all there, my mother in her designer swimsuit, Raphael with his expensive cigars, Evan living it up on the proceeds from my stolen car. Family money? I repeated slowly. Interesting perspective, Raphael. Tell me, who's been paying the property taxes on the house for the past 3 years? Silence. What are you talking about? My mother asked. Raphael handles all that. I walked to my desk, pulling out a folder of receipts I'd been keeping. Really? Because I have proof of every payment I've made, $12,000 worth to be exact. You know why I did it? Because you told me Grandma would have wanted me to help. That family takes care of family. Well, yes, but Raphael stumbled. And who paid for the new roof last year? The plumbing repairs? The property insurance? More silence. Noel. My mother's voice turned syrupy sweet. Darling, we appreciate everything you've done to help, but you're being very ungrateful right now. We've given you a home, a family. Given me? I cut her off. I've been paying for everything while you blow money on cruises and spa weekends. Did you even read Grandma's will before you moved in? Of course we did, Raphael said quickly. Too quickly, I smiled, though they couldn't see it. Really? Then you know about the power of attorney? Another pause, longer this time. What power of attorney? My mother asked sharply. The one Grandma signed 5 years ago, before her dementia. The one making me her legal representative. I let that sink in. The one giving me control over all her assets, including the house. I heard rapid whispering on their end. Then my mother came back, her voice tight with forced calm. Honey, you're confused. Raphael and I are the homeowners. We've been living here for years. Living here? Yes. Owning? No. Check the deed, Mom. It's still in Grandma's name. And guess who has the legal right to make decisions about it now? You wouldn't, she whispered. Wouldn't what? Take control of something that's legally mine? Sell property I have authority over? I paused, kind of like selling someone else's car. This is different, she shrieked. This is our home. You weren't using it properly anyway. I echoed her earlier text. Raphael came back on the line. Now listen here, young lady. No, you listen, I cut him off. Enjoy your vacation. When you get back, we need to have a serious discussion about living arrangements. I hung up as they started protesting. Within seconds, my phone lit up with texts. Mom, you can't do this to us. Raphael, this is completely inappropriate. Mom, we're your family. Mom, answer your phone right now. I silenced my phone and opened my laptop instead. Time to email that estate lawyer Rosalind recommended. If they wanted to play games with my property, they were about to learn I had a few moves of my own. My best friend Tiffany called right then. She always had perfect timing. Hey, I answered. Want to help me move some stuff this weekend? Finally kicking the entitled squad to the curb, she asked eagerly. Something like that. I looked at the power of attorney document again. They're about to learn that karma takes property taxes very seriously. Girl, Tiffany said, I am so here for this. Want me to bring boxes? Bring boxes, I confirmed, and maybe some popcorn. I have a feeling this show is just getting started. As I hung up, another text from my mother came through. You're breaking this family apart. I thought about my car, probably already sold to some dealer in Hawaii, about all the times they'd taken and taken, assuming I'd never push back. No, Mom, I whispered to my empty apartment. You did that all on your own. The power of attorney is absolutely valid, Wade, the estate lawyer, confirmed as he reviewed the documents spread across his desk. Your grandmother was of sound mind when she signed it. and it was properly notarized. You have full legal authority to act on her behalf. I sat straighter in my chair. And the house? Still legally in your grandmother's name. He pulled out the property records. Your mother and stepfather have been living there, but they have no ownership rights. With this power of attorney, you can proceed with any property decisions you see fit, including selling it? Wade nodded, adjusting his glasses. I can start the paperwork today if you'd like, though I should warn you, family property disputes can get messy. Messier than selling someone's car without permission? He cracked a small smile. Point taken. I'll draft the documents to transfer the house into your name first, then we can list it. I left his office an hour later with a folder full of legal papers and a plan forming in my mind. First stop, my cousin Rosalind's real estate office. I can have it listed by next week, she said, examining the property details. The market's hot right now. Houses in that neighborhood are selling fast. How fast? With the right price point? 30 days, maybe less. She looked up at me. Are you sure about this, Noelle? It's going to be nuclear. They're still in Hawaii, I said, checking my phone. No new messages. They were probably still fuming. I want everything ready before they get back. Next, I called the utility companies. Hi, I need to schedule service disconnection for next week. One by one, I arranged for the electricity, water, and gas to be shut off the day after their return. My phone rang. Tiffany. Tell me everything, she demanded when I answered. Did the lawyer say you could do it? Not only can I do it, I'm doing it right now. I filled her in on the morning's events. Girl, this is the best revenge story I've ever heard, she cackled. They really thought they could just take your car and face no consequences? They thought I was the same quiet doormat I've always been. I paused outside my apartment. But you know what? I'm done being quiet. About time. Want help packing up your stuff from their house? Actually, yes. I need to get everything out before they return. And I hesitated. There's something else I need to do. An hour later, we stood in my mother's home office. I'd found what I was looking for, a folder labeled House Projects on her desk. Inside was a detailed wish list. Pool installation, patio expansion, kitchen remodel. The estimated total made me whistle. They were planning renovations? Tiffany asked, reading over my shoulder. With what money? I flipped through the papers until I found it. Loan application forms. They were going to refinance the house they don't even own. Wow. Tiffany shook her head. The audacity. We spent the next few hours boxing up my belongings, artwork I'd created, books I'd bought, the expensive coffee maker I'd purchased last Christmas, everything I'd contributed to the house over the years. What about Evan's stuff? Tiffany asked, eyeing his gaming setup in the living room. I remembered his laughter in the background during that phone call. Box it up. It can wait on the curb when they get back. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. We need to talk about this rationally. Call me. I showed it to Tiffany, who snorted. Now they want to be rational? After stealing your car? Too late for that? I turned back to the boxes. Way too late. As we worked, I found myself in my grandmother's old room, now used for storage. Her scent was long gone, replaced by my mother's expensive candles, but in the closet her old cardigan still hung, forgotten. I pressed it to my face, remembering how she used to say, kindness matters, but so does standing up for yourself. She'd known somehow, known that I'd need this power one day. You okay? Tiffany asked from the doorway. Yeah. I folded the cardigan carefully into a box. Just thinking about Grandma. She'd be proud of you, you know. Standing up to them like this. My phone buzzed again, Wade's office confirming the property transfer paperwork was ready for my signature tomorrow. Everything was falling into place. One more thing, I said, pulling out my keyring. We need to stop by the hardware store. New locks? Tiffany grinned. New locks, I confirmed. They'll need a proper welcome when they get back from paradise. As we left, I took one last look around the house that had been my grandmother's, that my mother had claimed as her own, that I'd helped maintain while being treated like an outsider. You know they're going to lose their minds when they get back, right? Tiffany said as we loaded the last box. I thought about my car, sold without a second thought, about years of being overlooked, undervalued, taken for granted. Good, I said, closing the trunk. It's about time they felt what it's like to lose something. I sat in my parked car across the street, watching their taxi pull up to the house. My mother stepped out first, still wearing her resort clothes, followed by Raphael, lugging their expensive matching suitcases. Evan emerged last, sunburned and yawning. The moment they reached the front door, everything changed. What the hell? Evan tried the handle. Mom, my key's not working. My mother fumbled with her own key. Raphael, try yours. None of them worked, of course. I'd changed all the locks 2 days ago. Their confusion turned to panic as they noticed the other changes. Evan's gaming chair and electronics sat in neat boxes by the curb, along with several garbage bags of his clothes. The curtains were drawn, and an official-looking notice was taped to the door. My phone started ringing. I let it go to voicemail twice before finally answering. What have you done? My mother's voice trembled with rage. You weren't using it properly anyway, I replied, using her own words. Let us in right now. No. This is our house. Check the notice on the door, I said calmly. It explains everything. I watched as Raphael snatched the paper, reading it aloud. His face went pale. The document clearly stated my legal authority over the property, complete with Wade's law firm letterhead and contact information. Evan started kicking the door. This is bullshit. All my stuff is out here. Language, honey, my mother said automatically, then turned in a circle, finally spotting my car. Noelle, I know you're out there. I stayed silent, watching. You can't do this, Raphael shouted. We live here. Lived, I corrected. Past tense. Evan ran to his boxes, pawing through them frantically. My gaming PC, my new monitor. You can't just throw them out. Actually, I can. I paid for them, remember, last Christmas, when you said you'd pay me back but never did? My mother stormed toward my car, her designer sandals slapping against the pavement. I rolled up my windows. Open this door right now, young lady. Like you opened my car door for the tow truck? She slapped my window. This is different. This is our home. Was your home? I corrected. And speaking of homes, how's that refinancing plan working out? The one for the pool and patio? Her face went white. How did you? I found the paperwork. Ambitious plans for a house you don't own. Raphael joined her, trying to look stern despite his obvious panic. Noelle, be reasonable. We can talk about this. Like you talked to me about selling my car? That was, he started, but I cut him off. Different? Everything's different when it's happening to you, isn't it? Evan was still going through his boxes, getting more agitated. Where's my laptop? Sold it, I said. You weren't using it properly anyway, just for games, not studying. The money's been donated to a literacy program. You had no right, he screamed. Funny how that works, isn't it? My mother changed tactics, her voice turning sugary. Sweetheart, please. Where are we supposed to go? There's a Motel 6 about 3 miles away. I hear they have weekly rates. A motel? She looked horrified. We can't stay in a motel. No. I stayed in my car that winter you kicked me out. A motel sounds pretty luxurious compared to that. Raphael pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police. Go ahead, I said. I have all the paperwork right here. Power of attorney, property deed, tax records, utility bills I've paid. Oh, and documentation of the illegal sale of my car. Which would you like them to see first? He slowly lowered his phone. Just then, a car pulled up behind them. Rosalind stepped out, carrying a for sale sign and her real estate portfolio. Perfect timing, I said into the phone. Your new real estate agent is here. Real estate? My mother choked. You're selling the house? Already listed. First showing is tomorrow at noon. You might want to clear your stuff out before then. Where are we supposed to put everything? Evan demanded. Not my problem, but those boxes on the curb? Garbage pickup is in an hour. He ran to rescue his belongings as Rosalind approached the group, all professional smile and clipboard. Hi, everyone. I'm here to set up for tomorrow's open house. Could you please move your vehicles? They're blocking the photography angles. My mother turned back to my car, tears streaming now. Noelle, please. We're your family. I started my engine. You should have thought about that before Hawaii. As I pulled away, I caught one last glimpse in my rearview mirror. My mother crumpled on the lawn, Raphael pacing frantically on his phone, Evan desperately dragging boxes toward the taxi, and Rosalind cheerfully hammering the for sale sign into the front yard. Paradise, it turns out, has a very short shelf life. The first text came at 3 a.m. We're at the Motel 6. I hope you're happy now. I was awake anyway, working on a design project. More messages followed. Evan's crying. Raphael can't sleep. This place is disgusting. Please answer me. At 8 a.m., my mother switched to threats. Our lawyer will contact you today. You can't get away with this. I forwarded the message to Wade, who replied within minutes. Let them try. Everything's legally solid. By noon, they were at the house again, watching helplessly as potential buyers toured their former home. Rosalind had staged it beautifully, removing their personal touches and replacing them with modern, neutral decor. My phone rang. Raphael. We need to talk, he said, his voice rough, face to face. Nothing to talk about. Please. He sounded desperate. We didn't understand. All you did for this place. The taxes. The maintenance. We took you for granted. Took me for granted? I laughed. You stole my car. We'll replace it. We'll buy you a better one. With what money? The house refinancing fell through, didn't it? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. Through Rosalind's live updates, I knew there were already 3 offers on the house. The market was hot and the location was prime. My mother tried next, showing up at my apartment. I watched through the peephole as she pounded on my door. Noelle, open up! We need to talk about this. I recorded a video of her meltdown, just in case. You're destroying this family, she screamed through the door. Is that what you want? Mrs. Warner from next door poked her head out. Should I call the police? No need, I called back. She's leaving. I am not leaving, my mother shrieked. This is my daughter. Funny, I said through the door. You didn't seem to remember that in Hawaii. Eventually she left, but not before slipping a tear-stained note under my door. I didn't read it. That afternoon, Wade called with unexpected news. We have a problem, he said. Raphael tried to refinance the house last month. He claimed co-ownership and took out a small loan against the property. My stomach dropped. Can he do that? No, but it's complicated. The bank might try to claim partial rights. We need to act fast. What do we need to do? Buy out his claim. It's not much, about $8,000, but it needs to be done before we can close any sale. I looked at my savings account. Between paying the property taxes and covering various house expenses over the years, I was already stretched thin, but I had just enough. Do it, I said. An hour later, Evan showed up at my workplace, barging into the coffee shop where I was meeting a client. You ruined everything, he shouted, causing heads to turn. I had to drop out of college. We're living in a roach motel. I calmly packed up my laptop. Sounds rough, kind of like having your transportation stolen. It was just a car, and this is just a house. I stood up. Karma's funny that way. My client, wide-eyed, whispered, Family drama? Ex-family, I corrected. That evening, my mother tried one last time. She was waiting by my car when I left work. Just let us stay through winter, she begged. Please, we'll find somewhere else by spring. I remembered that winter 3 years ago when she'd kicked me out during a fight. I'd slept in my car for 2 weeks in freezing temperatures because she needed space to process. The house has 3 offers, I said, all above asking price. But where will we go? Not my problem. I'm your mother. You're the woman who sold my car to take your stepson to Hawaii. I unlocked my car door. Actions have consequences. As I drove away, I saw her collapse onto the curb, sobbing. For a moment, my resolve wavered. Then I remembered finding those airline tickets, the sound of Evan's laughter during that phone call, Raphael's dismissive, it's all family money anyway. Back home, I found an old envelope I'd discovered while cleaning out the house. Inside was a handwritten note from my grandmother. Protection comes in silence. But dignity requires action. I traced her familiar handwriting, remembering how she'd always seen through my mother's manipulations, how she'd prepared for this very scenario before her mind began to fade. My phone buzzed. Rosalind. "We have a final offer," she said. "Full asking price, cash buyers, quick closing." I thought about the $8,000 I'd just spent to secure full control of the house, about all the money I'd poured into maintaining it while they lived there carelessly, about my car, probably already sold to some dealership in Hawaii. "Tell them yes," I said. "Sometimes karma needs a little help, and sometimes that help comes in the form of a power of attorney document and a real estate listing." The closing date was set for 2 weeks out, cash buyers, no contingencies, no delays. Rosalind called it a dream deal. I called it karma. My phone had been suspiciously quiet for 2 days when Wade's office called. "Your stepfather filed an emergency injunction," his assistant said, "claiming common law property rights due to length of residence. We need you here immediately." I arrived to find Wade already preparing documents. "It's a desperate move," he said, spreading papers across his desk, "but we need to handle it carefully." "How much is this going to cost me?" "The court filing fee is $2,000. "My time," he hesitated. "I can work with you on that." I wrote the check with shaking hands. This was the last of my savings, but I couldn't stop now. "What happens next?" "We file our response, showing your clear legal authority and—" His phone buzzed. "Hold on. This is interesting." He answered, listened, then smiled. "Your stepfather just withdrew the injunction." "Why?" "Apparently, someone reminded him that challenging property rights might trigger an investigation into the illegal sale of your car." Tiffany. Had to be. She'd mentioned having dirt on Raphael from her time working at the dealership. Back at my apartment, I found Evan sitting on my doorstep. "You don't have to do this," he said, standing up. "We can work something out." "Like you worked something out with my car?" He had the grace to look embarrassed. "That was Mom's idea. She said you wouldn't mind." "Wouldn't mind?" I unlocked my door, leaving him outside. "Did anyone even ask me?" "We were going to surprise you with a thank you gift from Hawaii." I turned back. "A gift? You stole my car." "Borrowed the equity," he protested. Mom said a lot of things, like how family helps family." "But it only ever went one way, didn't it?" He kicked my doorframe. "I had to drop out of college because of you. We're living in a gross motel." "Actions have consequences," I said. "Consider it a life lesson." "You're heartless." "No," I corrected him. "I'm done being heartless to myself." I shut the door on his protests and called Rosalind. "The buyers want to move up the closing date," she said. "They're offering an extra $10,000 to close next week." "Perfect." The sooner, the better. That evening, I drove past the house. My mother and Raphael were loading boxes into their old Toyota, the one she'd so generously offered to let me use after selling my car. They spotted my car and rushed over. I kept my windows up. "Please," my mother mouthed through the glass. "Just through winter." I shook my head and started to back up. Raphael slapped my hood. "You can't just throw us out." I put the car in park and got out. "Really?" "Watch me. We're your family." "Family doesn't steal from family." "It wasn't stealing," my mother protested. "We were going to make it up to you." "With what? The house money you don't have? The refinancing that fell through?" Raphael stepped forward. "We made mistakes. We admit that. But this punishment—" "Punishment?" I laughed. "This isn't punishment. This is consequences. Learn the difference." Back in my car, I found a new text from Tiffany. "Found the paperwork from your car sale." "Want me to send it to the police?" I thought about it. Technically, what they'd done was fraud. But "No," I replied. "Let them live with what they've done." That night, I couldn't sleep. I found myself reading my grandmother's letter again. Protection comes in silence. But dignity requires action. Under those words in shakier handwriting was a line I hadn't noticed before. "Remember who you are, not what they made you believe." My phone lit up. A text from my mother. Found an apartment. Too small. Evan has to share a room with us. Is this what you wanted? I thought about all the times I'd shared my savings, paid their bills, covered their expenses, all while being treated like an afterthought. What I wanted, I typed back, was to be treated like family. You chose Hawaii instead. The next morning, Wade called. Closing's set for next Friday. You'll net about $80,000 after all debts and fees. And they can't stop it? Not legally, but he paused. Are you sure about this? Family estrangement is usually permanent. I looked at my empty car spot, thought about my drained savings account, remembered years of being the family ATM while being treated like an unwanted house guest. They estranged themselves, I said. I'm just making it official. After hanging up, I drove to my grandmother's grave. The autumn leaves were starting to fall, covering her headstone in gold and red. I did it, Grandma, I whispered. I stood up for myself. A cool breeze rustled the leaves, and for a moment I could almost hear her voice. About time, dear. About time. Closing day arrived with perfect fall weather and a sense of finality. The buyers were a young couple, excited about their first home. I watched them sign the papers with steady hands while Wade handled the legal details. Congratulations, the wife said to me, not knowing the full story. This house is exactly what we've been looking for. If she only knew. My phone had been buzzing all morning. Mom, please don't do this. Raphael, we can still work something out. Evan, you're destroying our family. I silenced it and focused on the paperwork. $83,000 after everything was settled, enough to replace my car and start fresh. As I left the closing, Rosalind caught up with me in the parking lot. They're at the house, she said quietly. Your mother and Raphael. They're refusing to leave. I drove there immediately, Wade following in his car. Sure enough, they were sitting on the front steps, my mother in tears, Raphael trying to look dignified despite his rumpled appearance. You can't just throw us out, my mother wailed as I approached. Actually, I can, and I did. The house has new owners now. Where are we supposed to go? You've had weeks to figure that out. I turned to Wade. Do we need to call the police? That won't be necessary, he said loudly, unless they want trespassing charges added to their legal troubles. Raphael stood up. Legal troubles? The fraudulent sale of Noelle's car, for starters, Wade replied smoothly. I'm sure the authorities would be very interested in how that transpired. They left within 10 minutes, but my mother turned back at their car. I never meant for this to happen, she said softly. Really? What did you think would happen when you sold my car? I thought, she paused, I thought you'd understand. You always understood before, always helped, always gave in. That's the problem, Mom. I always gave in. Not anymore. She stepped closer, her voice dropping. You want to know the truth? I resented you. Everything good skipped over me and went straight to you. Your father's brains, your grandmother's strength. Even when I tried to hold you back, you kept succeeding. I stared at her. You tried to hold me back? The college fund I lost. The job recommendations I never sent. The connections I didn't share. She laughed bitterly. But you succeeded anyway, and I hated you for it. Mom? So yes, I took your car. Yes, I spoiled Evan instead of you because he was more like me, struggling, needing help, not quite good enough. Raphael called from their car, but she waved him off. And now look, she gestured at the house. You've beaten me again, taken everything. I didn't take anything, I said quietly. I just stopped letting you take from me. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. Can't we start over? She pleaded. No. I looked at the house, remembering all the years of manipulation. Some things can't be fixed. The new owners pulled up then, their moving truck behind them. Time to go. Goodbye, Mom. Noelle, please. But I was already walking away. In my rearview mirror, I watched her standing there, getting smaller and smaller until she disappeared completely. Tiffany was waiting at my apartment with wine and takeout. So? She asked as I walked in. Did it feel good? I sat heavily on my couch. It felt Final. But did you get what you wanted? Justice? Revenge? Karma? I took a sip of wine. All of the above, I guess. My phone buzzed. Evan, they found us an apartment. It's terrible. Thanks for nothing. Tiffany read the message over my shoulder. Want me to send that car sale documentation to the police? I deleted the message. No, let them live with what they did. Besides, I managed a small smile. I hear karma takes property taxes very seriously. Speaking of property, she pulled out her laptop. Want to look at cars? Time to replace what they stole. We spent the evening browsing dealerships, drinking wine, and deliberately not talking about family. Around midnight, one final text came through. Raphael, your mother's devastated. I hope you're satisfied. I thought about my mother's confession, about all the ways she'd tried to hold me back, all the times she'd undermined me, about how she'd resented my success so much she'd stolen from me. I am satisfied, I typed back, and I hope you both learned something about consequences. Then I blocked their numbers, all of them. It was time to move forward. So, Tiffany said, pointing to her screen, what do you think about this one? Better than your old car. I looked at the sleek sedan on the screen. New beginnings require new wheels, after all. Perfect, I said. Let's go see it tomorrow. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just getting even, it's getting better. And I was just getting started. The new car still had that fresh leather smell as I pulled into my grandmother's nursing home parking lot. I hadn't visited since everything happened. Guilt, maybe, or just needing time to process. At the front desk, the nurse brightened. She's having a good day today, she said. She might even recognize you. My grandmother sat in her usual spot by the window, sunlight catching the silver in her hair. Her eyes were clearer than I'd seen in months. Noelle, she said as I approached. Is that you? It's me, Grandma. I sat beside her, taking her fragile hand. You look different, she said, studying my face. Stronger. I am stronger. I squeezed her hand. Thanks to you. She smiled, a flash of her old sharpness returning. The house? Sold. New family moved in last week. And Meredith? Gone. I swallowed hard. They all are. She nodded slowly. Sometimes family is who you choose, not who chose you. A text buzzed on my phone. Tiffany sending a photo of my new apartment keys. I was moving in tomorrow, starting fresh. I found your letter, I told my grandmother, the one about protection and dignity. Ah, she patted my hand. I always knew you'd need it someday. Your mother. She never could stand seeing others shine. She admitted it, right at the end, said she resented me for having your strength. My strength? My grandmother laughed softly. No, dear, that was all yours. I just gave you permission to use it. The nurse came by with medication, and for a moment I saw confusion cloud my grandmother's eyes. But she rallied, focusing on me again. Are you happy? She asked. I'm free, I answered honestly. The rest will come. On my way out, I passed the facility's bulletin board. A familiar face caught my eye, my mother, in a newspaper clipping. The article was about local families affected by the housing crisis. There she was, playing victim again. Back in my car, I found an email from Wade. Final paperwork filed, all ties legally severed. You're officially free and clear. Free and clear. The words felt right. My phone rang. Roslyn. The new owners love the house, she said, but they found something in the attic you might want. Some old photos, I think. I picked them up that afternoon, a dusty album filled with family pictures, my grandmother young and vibrant, my mother as a child, me as a baby. On the last page, a note fell out. Family is a gift, but boundaries are a necessity. Love, Grandma. Even then, she'd been leaving me breadcrumbs, showing me the way. At my soon-to-be former apartment, Tiffany helped me pack the last boxes. Look what I found, she said, holding up an old photo. My mother and me at my high school graduation, her smile tight and forced, my eyes already showing the strain. Trash it, I said. You sure? I thought about my mother's final confession, about all the ways she'd tried to dim my light, about how freedom felt better than family obligation. Absolutely sure. We ordered pizza and sat on my empty floor, surrounded by boxes labeled for my new life. So, Tiffany said between bites, was it worth it? I thought about my drained savings, now slowly rebuilding, about the family I'd lost, or maybe never really had, about the weight lifted from my shoulders. They took my car, I said slowly, but they gave me something better. What's that? The push I needed to stop being their doormat. My phone buzzed, an unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me look. A text from Evan. Got a job, moving out of their apartment. Maybe you were right about consequences. I didn't respond, but I saved the message. Sometimes karma teaches lessons you never could. That night, I drove to my grandmother's grave one last time before moving across town. The autumn air was crisp, leaves crunching under my feet. I placed her old letter on her headstone, weighing it down with a small stone. Thank you, I whispered, for seeing what I couldn't, for giving me the tools I'd need. The wind rustled the trees, sending leaves dancing around me. I thought about family, the ones we're born to, the ones we choose, the ones we have to leave behind. My new car waited in the parking lot, keys warm in my hand. Tomorrow would bring moving trucks and new beginnings. But tonight, in this moment, I finally understood what my grandmother meant. Protection comes in silence, in quiet preparation, in careful planning, in knowing your worth. But dignity? Dignity comes in action, in standing up, walking away, and never looking back. I got in my car and drove toward home, my real home, the one I'd chosen for myself, the one I'd earned. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even. Sometimes it's simply becoming who you were always meant to be.
I never thought I'd be eating cold Chinese takeout in my car, parked outside my childhood home, watching my own family laugh through the kitchen window. But here I am, chopsticks frozen midair, as my mother's voice carries through the partially open window. She'll figure something out. Stella always does. My name is Stella, and I just got laid off from my tech job in Silicon Valley. Well, that's what they think happened anyway. The truth is a bit more complicated, but we'll get to that later. I showed up on their doorstep this morning, swallowing my pride, expecting at least a few days of shelter while I figured things out. Instead, I got my mother's perfectly manicured hand on my shoulder, steering me away from the entrance. "Oh, sweetie," she'd said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "This isn't a good time. Annabelle's going through something terrible." Right on cue, dramatic sobs echoed from inside. My cousin Annabelle, sprawled across our leather couch, mascara-stained tissue scattered around her like fallen soldiers. "Her boyfriend left her," Mom whispered, as if announcing a terminal diagnosis. "She needs space to heal." "And where exactly am I supposed to sleep?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Well," Mom glanced at my car, a modest Honda Civic that didn't quite match the neighborhood's luxury vehicle aesthetic. "Just for a few days, until you sort yourself out?" I watched her disappear inside, where Annabelle's theatrical wailing had reached a crescendo. Through the window, I could see my Aunt Josephine patting Annabelle's head, while my father stood in the corner, pretending to read something on his phone. My sister Iris, the only one who seemed to notice the absurdity of it all, caught my eye from the staircase. She mouthed, "I'm sorry," before Mom shooed her away. That was 12 hours ago. Now I'm watching them share pizza and wine, their laughter a stark contrast to the silence in my car. My phone buzzes with a text from Sterling, my former business partner. "Did they buy it?" I type back, hook, line, and sinker. Time to test this theory. Another sob-filled screech pierces the night. Annabelle's voice carries clearly, "I need to be alone in my room." My room. My childhood bedroom, where my posters once hung and my dreams took shape. Now it belongs to a 26-year-old woman having a meltdown over a 3-month relationship. A soft tap on my window makes me jump. It's Iris, holding a blanket and my old pillow. "They're horrible," she whispers as I crack the window. "I can't believe they're doing this to you." "It's fine," I lie, accepting the bedding. "I've slept in worse places." "No, you haven't," she argues, her teenage wisdom cutting through my bravado. "Mom cleared out your entire room this afternoon." "Everything's in boxes in the garage. She said you'd abandoned it anyway." I feel my jaw tighten but maintain my composure. "Did she keep the photo albums at least?" "Annabelle needed the shelf space for her healing crystals." Iris rolls her eyes. "I saved what I could, but—" A sharp voice cuts through the darkness. "Iris, get inside this instant." Mom stands in the doorway, silhouetted by warm light, looking like every suburban nightmare come to life. "And Stella, dear, could you move your car a bit? The neighbors might talk." I start the engine, but instead of moving, I roll down my window fully. "You know what, Mom? You're right. The neighbors might talk. In fact, I'm counting on it." She blinks, confused by my calm demeanor. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I smile, the same fake smile she taught me. Just thinking out loud. "Good night, Mother." As she hurries Iris inside, I open my banking app and stare at the 8-figure balance hidden behind a series of shell companies. The house's deed sits in my glove compartment, filed under an LLC name that would mean nothing to them. My phone buzzes again. Sterling. "Ready when you are, boss." I take one last look at the house. My house, though they don't know it yet. Through the window, I can see Annabelle dramatically draped across the couch, my mother hovering nearby with tissues, my father still absorbed in his phone. They look like a perfect family portrait, minus the daughter sleeping in her car. I text back to Sterling, "Start the clock. Let's see how long it takes them to realize who really owns their roof." Then I recline my seat, wrap myself in the blanket Iris brought, and smile. Sometimes revenge doesn't need to be served cold. Sometimes it just needs to be served at exactly the right moment. And that moment is coming sooner than they think. 18 days. That's how long I've been living in my car, watching my family's true colors bleed through their perfect facade. Every morning, I wake up to the sound of sprinklers hitting my windshield, deliberately aimed at my parking spot by my father's precise adjustments. "Remember when you told me I'd never make it in tech?" I whisper to myself, thinking back to that night 3 years ago in Sterling's garage, where our startup was born. A tap on my window interrupts my thoughts. It's Iris, carrying 2 steaming cups of coffee. "They're talking about calling the police," she says, handing me a cup through the window. "Mom says you're destroying property values by being here." I laugh, taking a sip. Destroying property values? That's rich. I don't understand why you're not telling them about— Iris glances around conspiratorially. "You know, the money." "Because money isn't the point anymore." I pull out my laptop, showing her my email. "Look what just came in from the realtor next door." Iris leans in, reading aloud. "Interested buyer offering $1.2 million for the property. Excellent opportunity to—" "Not for sale," I say, typing my response. "But it might be available very soon." "You're scary sometimes," Iris grins. "In a good way." The front door slams, and Annabelle emerges in her yoga outfit, shooting us a disgusted look. "Oh my God, are you still here? Don't you have, like, friends or something?" "I do," I reply calmly. "They're just waiting for the right moment to make an appearance." She rolls her eyes and struts away, probably heading to her 3rd yoga class of the week, all charged to my mother's credit card, no doubt. My phone rings. It's Sterling. "The LLC paperwork is final," he says, without preamble. "You're officially the ghost owner of 1542 Maple Drive. Want me to start phase 2? I watch as my mother appears in the kitchen window, phone pressed to her ear, gesturing animatedly. Not yet. Let them dig the hole a little deeper. Stella, Iris whispers urgently. Mom's calling Uncle Nigel. I think they're planning something. I nod, unsurprised. Let me guess. They're going to try to have my car towed? Worse. They're talking about a restraining order. I can't help but laugh. A restraining order? To keep me away from my own property? That's going to be interesting. Just then, my father emerges from the garage, walking purposefully toward my car. I roll down my window, maintaining eye contact. This has gone on long enough, he says, his voice cold. You're embarrassing yourself and this family. Am I? I ask quietly. Tell me, Dad, what's more embarrassing? Having your daughter sleep in her car or making her sleep in her car? He shifts uncomfortably. You made your choices. Silicon Valley dreams, remember? Now you're back with nothing to show for it. If he only knew about the 3 patents in my name, the successful IPO, the offshore accounts. But instead, I just smile. Nothing to show for it? We'll see about that. Louis! My mother's shrill voice cuts through the morning air. The Hendersons are coming over for brunch. Get her out of here. Dad straightens his shoulders. You have 1 hour to leave, or I'm calling the police. As he walks away, Iris squeezes my hand through the window. Are you really going to leave? No, I say, pulling out my phone. I'm going to give them exactly what they want. A show. I dial Sterling's number. Remember that real estate sign we had made? Bring it over. It's time for phase 2. An hour later, as the Hendersons' BMW pulls into their driveway, Sterling's truck arrives with a professional-looking property under new management sign. We plant it right in the front yard, making sure the LLC's name, Griffin and Associates, is clearly visible. My mother nearly drops her mimosa when she sees it from the window. Within minutes, she's storming out, face red with fury. What is the meaning of this? She demands, gesturing at the sign. You can't just... Oh, but I can, I interrupt smoothly. You see, this property has new owners. They're just being generous, letting the current occupants stay while they... I pause for effect. Figure things out. You're lying, she hisses, but I see the first flicker of doubt in her eyes. Am I? I hand her my business card, newly printed, showing me as the manager of Griffin and Associates. Sleep well, Mother. While you still can. As I walk back to my car, I hear the Hendersons whispering, see Annabelle peeking through the curtains, and notice my father's hands shaking as he makes a phone call, probably to his lawyer. Iris joins me, trying to suppress her grin. You're not really going to kick them out, are you? I start my engine, watching my mother frantically trying to explain the sign to her brunch guests. Not yet. First, we're going to let them feel what it's like to not know if you have a roof over your head. My phone buzzes with a notification. A neighbor has made another offer on the house. I smile and type my response. Property status, pending eviction. The coffee shop where I meet Sterling is deliberately chosen, just far enough from my parents' house to avoid prying eyes, but close enough to make a quick return. He slides a manila envelope across the table, his expression a mix of concern and amusement. Are you sure about this? He asks, watching me review the final paperwork. Once we move forward, there's no going back. I look up from the documents. Did you hear what they did yesterday? No. What now? They're having a barbecue. Right now. The whole family's there, celebrating Annabelle's emotional breakthrough after her breakup. I tap my phone, showing him the photos Iris sent. That's my father manning the grill I bought him last Christmas. Sterling leans in, squinting at the image. Is that your mom wearing your graduation watch? The one she borrowed when I was sleeping in the car? Yes. I signed the last page with perhaps more force than necessary. They don't even try to hide it anymore. My phone buzzes. Another text from Iris. Mom just called you a failure again. Dad laughed. I hate them so much right now. Sterling reads the message over my shoulder and whistles low. You know, when you first told me about buying the house through the LLC, I thought you were overreacting. Now, I think you might be too nice. I gather the papers, tucking them carefully into my bag. Let's go see how nice they think I am. We drive separately back to the house. The smell of grilling meat fills the air as I park in my usual spot. Through the fence, I can see them all gathered on the back patio. My mother holding court with a wine glass, Aunt Josephine nodding sympathetically at whatever she's saying, Annabelle sprawled in a lounger wearing my old sunglasses. She's not even crying anymore, I hear my mother say, her voice carrying clearly. I think she's used to the car now. Probably for the best, Aunt Josephine adds. She never did fit in here anyway. I wait until I hear their laughter fade before making my way to the front door. There's a new sign taped to it. Private property, do not disturb. Below that, another note specifically for me. This means you, Stella. Perfect timing. Sterling pulls up in his Mercedes, wearing his sharpest suit. Showtime. We walk straight through the front door. I still have my key, after all. The conversation in the backyard stops abruptly as we make our entrance through the sliding glass doors. What do you think you're doing? My mother demands, nearly dropping her wine. This is a private family gathering. Oh, I know, I reply smoothly. That's exactly why I'm here. I turn to Sterling. Would you like to do the honors? He pulls out an official-looking document. As the legal representative of Griffin and Associates, I'm here to inform you that this property has been under new ownership for the past 3 months. What nonsense is this? My father interrupts, abandoning his post at the grill. The foreclosure you thought you handled quietly? I say, watching their faces. Someone bought it. Cash offer. Been letting you live here rent-free while observing the situation. You're lying, Annabelle squeaks, sitting up straight for the first time in weeks. Am I? I pull out my phone, displaying the property deed. Would you like to see the paperwork? Or should we discuss the terms of your eviction first? My mother's face goes pale. You couldn't possibly... Actually, I could, and did. I walk over to the grill, picking up a burger. Remember when you told me I'd never make it in tech? That I was wasting my time with computer nonsense instead of finding a rich husband like Annabelle? But you were laid off, my father stammers. You've been sleeping in your car. I chose to sleep in my car, I correct him, taking a bite of the burger. Wanted to see who'd show their true colors if they thought I had nothing. Guess what? You all did. Aunt Josephine stands up, pointing a shaking finger at me. You manipulative little... Careful, Sterling interrupts. That's your landlord you're talking to. The silence that follows is deafening. Then, from behind me, I hear a quiet laugh. It's Iris, standing in the doorway, slow clapping. By the way, I add, that do not enter sign on my old room, might want to take it down. It's my house. I'll enter any room I want. You can't do this to us, my mother whispers. We're family. I walk to the sliding door, then turn back one last time. Family? Funny. That's not what you called me when I was sleeping in my car. I pull out an envelope labeled Eviction Notice and place it on the table. Enjoy the rest of your barbecue. You have 14 days to vacate my property. As Sterling and I walk away, I hear the chaos erupting behind us. Annabelle's fresh sobs, my mother's protests, my father's angry phone calls starting already. Feel better? Sterling asks as we reach our cars. I look back at the house, my house, and smile. Not yet, but I will. The morning after the barbecue revelation, I walk into my house wearing my best power suit. The chaos hits me like a wave. Annabelle sprawled on the stairs, hyperventilating. Aunt Josephine on the phone with someone she keeps calling my lawyer friend. And my father pacing the living room with a stack of papers. "This is illegal," Annabelle shrieks when she sees me. "You can't just—" Actually, I can. I settle into what used to be my father's favorite armchair. "Would you like to see the deed again? The property tax payments? The utility bills in my company's name?" My mother emerges from the kitchen, makeup perfectly done despite her obvious distress. "Stella, darling, let's talk about this reasonably." "Reasonably?" I raise an eyebrow. "Like how you reasonably let me sleep in my car for 18 days. "That was different," she protests. "We were teaching you responsibility." "Well, consider this your lesson in consequences." Aunt Josephine slams down her phone. "My attorney says—" "Your attorney," I interrupt, "can contact Sterling directly. Though I should warn you, he specializes in property law and doesn't take kindly to frivolous claims." My father finally speaks up, his voice trembling with barely contained rage. "How did you even afford this place? Remember my waste of time tech startup?" I pull out my phone, showing him our company's latest valuation. Turns out, all those nights I spent coding instead of attending your country club events paid off. His face goes from red to white in seconds. That's impossible." "The impossible daughter," I say sweetly. "Who'd have thought?" Annabelle suddenly bolts upright. "My things. All my things are here." "Your things?" I stand up slowly. "You mean the ones you put in my old room? The room you claimed because you needed space to heal from your 3-month relationship? You don't understand," she wails. "That breakup was traumatic." "Traumatic?" I laugh. "Try sleeping in your car while watching your family throw parties through the window. That's traumatic." My mother steps forward, attempting her best reconciliatory tone. "Sweetie, we can work this out. What do you want? Money?" "We can pay rent." "I don't want your money." I walk to the window, watching Sterling's car pull up outside. "I want you to understand exactly how it feels to have nowhere to go." The doorbell rings. Sterling enters without waiting for an invitation, carrying more paperwork. "The formal eviction notice," he announces, placing documents on the coffee table. "You have 14 days to vacate the premises. Any items left behind will be considered abandoned property." "You can't be serious," my father growls. "We're your family." "Family?" I turn to face him. "Family doesn't leave family sleeping in their car. Family doesn't mock their children's dreams. Family doesn't—" "Stella!" Iris's voice cuts through the tension. She's standing in the doorway looking nervous. "Can I talk to you? Privately?" Something in her tone makes me pause. "Of course." We step into the kitchen, leaving the others with Sterling. Iris closes the door behind us, her hands shaking slightly. "There's something else," she whispers. "Something Mom did that you don't know about yet." My stomach tightens. "What? Remember your life insurance policy? The one from your old job?" I nod slowly. It wasn't much. Just a basic policy I'd kept after leaving my previous position. "Mom found the paperwork in your old room," Iris continues, her voice barely audible. She forged your signature, cashed it out to pay her credit card debt." The kitchen seems to spin for a moment. "She what?" "I found the papers yesterday while they were all at the barbecue. They're in her desk drawer. She used your old driver's license to verify the signature." I lean against the counter, processing this new betrayal. Through the kitchen door, I can hear my mother's voice rising in protest about something Sterling's saying. "Show me," I say quietly. Iris leads me to our mother's study, pulls open the drawer, and there they are. The insurance documents with my forged signature, dated just after I lost my job. "I'm so sorry," Iris whispers. "I didn't know how to tell you." I gather the papers, my hands steady despite the rage building inside me. It's not your fault. We return to the living room, where my mother is in the middle of what appears to be an impassioned speech about family loyalty. Mother, I interrupt, holding up the insurance documents. Care to explain these? The color drains from her face. Where did you... Insurance fraud, I say calmly. On top of everything else. Interesting choice. Sterling takes the papers, examining them with professional interest. This changes things, he says. We should contact the authorities. No, I reply, watching my mother sink into a chair. We shouldn't. I turn to address my family. Instead, I'm giving you all 7 days, not 14, to get out of my house. And if anyone tries to contest this eviction, these documents go straight to the police. As I walk out, Iris following close behind, I hear Annabelle start another crying fit. But this time, nobody rushes to comfort her. They're too busy realizing just how badly they've lost. The insurance fraud revelation hits me harder than I expected. I'm sitting in Sterling's office, watching him examine the forged documents under his desk lamp. It's a clean forgery, he admits, adjusting his glasses. Your mother must have practiced your signature. The thought of her sitting there practicing my signature to steal from me. I trail off as my phone buzzes with another desperate text from my mother. Please, we can work this out. Don't do this to your family. Sterling looks up from the papers. Want me to handle the insurance company? Not yet. I set my phone down. Let's see how they handle the next 7 days first. A knock at the office door interrupts us. It's Iris, looking worried. They're packing up the house, she says, but Mom's doing something weird with the family photos and documents. What do you mean weird? She's burning them. In the backyard. I'm in my car before Iris finishes speaking, racing back to the house. Sure enough, smoke rises from behind the garage. My mother stands over a metal trash can, feeding my childhood into the flames. What are you doing? I demand, rushing forward. She looks up, her face eerily calm. Cleaning house. Isn't that what you wanted? I reach into the can, pulling out a half-burned photo album. My 5th birthday party, my high school graduation, family vacations, all turning to ash. These aren't yours to destroy, I say, trying to salvage what I can. No? She drops another handful of photos into the flames. Just like this house isn't yours to take? I bought this house legally. You stole from me, forged my signature. I did what I had to do, she snaps. You were always so ungrateful, so convinced you knew better than everyone else with your computers and your startups. Aunt Josephine appears from around the corner, carrying more boxes. Laura, dear, are you sure about this? Oh, yes, my mother says, never breaking eye contact with me. If Stella wants to erase us from her life, let's help her along. I watch as she pulls out my birth certificate, holding it over the flames. You want to know something funny? Your father, Louis, he's not even your real father. The world seems to stop for a moment. What? Oh, yes, she laughs, a bitter sound. You want truth? Here's your truth. You never belonged in this family. Not really. Aunt Josephine gasps. Laura, you promised never to... Why not tell her? My mother drops the birth certificate into the flames. She's made her choice. I stand there, watching pieces of my history turn to ash, feeling oddly detached. You think this changes anything? Doesn't it? She picks up another photo album. You're not even his daughter. You have no right to... I have every right, I interrupt, my voice steady. I bought this house with my money from my company, the company you said would fail, the one you laughed at while I worked 80-hour weeks to build it. Stella, Iris appears beside me, holding her phone. I recorded everything she just said. About Dad, about the burning. My mother's face changes, realizing what this means. You wouldn't dare use that against us. Watch me. I turn to Iris. Send that video to Sterling. Now. As Iris complies, I face my mother one last time. You know what's funny? You thought destroying these photos would hurt me, but all you've done is prove exactly why I'm right to do this. You ungrateful little... Save it. I cut her off. You have 6 days left. And now, thanks to this little bonfire, we'll be adding destruction of property to the legal complaints. I gather what remains of the photos and documents, holding them close. Oh, and Mother, I'll be getting a DNA test, not because it matters. It doesn't, but because I want proof of every single lie you've ever told. Aunt Josephine steps forward. Stella, please, your mother is just upset. My mother? I laugh. No, a mother doesn't do this. A mother doesn't forge signatures or burn memories or use homelessness as a teaching tool. I start walking away, then turn back. By the way, that insurance money you stole, it's going to look great in the court documents. Really helps paint a picture of your character. As I leave, I hear my mother start to cry. Those familiar manipulative sobs she's so good at. But they don't affect me anymore. Instead, I pull out my phone and text Sterling. Get me that DNA test. And contact the insurance company. It's time to show them what real consequences look like. Iris joins me in my car, holding the salvaged photos. Are you okay? I start the engine, watching smoke continue to rise from behind the garage. You know what? I am. Because now I know for sure. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about justice. My phone buzzes with Sterling's reply. DNA test scheduled for tomorrow. Insurance fraud report ready to file. Want me to pull the trigger? I look at Iris, then at the house, then at the smoke rising into the sky. Yes, I type back. Show no mercy. The DNA test results arrive via email while I'm sitting in my favorite coffee shop. One simple PDF attachment that confirms what my mother spitefully revealed. Louis isn't my biological father. I stare at the screen, feeling strangely empty. Does it change anything? Iris asks, sitting across from me with 2 steaming cups. Actually, it makes everything easier. I turn my laptop to show her. No biological ties means no emotional complications. My phone buzzes. Another frantic message from my mother. The insurance company called. Please don't do this. Too late, I mutter, deleting the message. Sterling arrives, carrying a thick manila envelope. Your family's been busy, he says, spreading out papers across the table. They've tried filing 3 different complaints with the police, 2 with the housing authority, and your aunt's lawyer friend has been making noise about elder abuse. I can't help but laugh. Elder abuse? I'm evicting people my age. Exactly why it got thrown out immediately. He pulls out another document. But here's something interesting. They're claiming you manipulated them into living there, rent-free, to set up this cruel eviction. Manipulated them? I shake my head. I literally slept in my car while they threw parties. Speaking of which, Iris interjects, scrolling through her phone, Annabelle just posted a TikTok about being homeless soon and started a GoFundMe. I take a sip of coffee. How much is she asking for? $50,000 for emergency relocation and emotional damages. Sterling snorts. Should we show her the real estate listings I pulled? There are plenty of nice apartments in their price range. No, I say, pulling out my own folder. Instead, show them this. I spread out photos across the table, screenshots of their social media posts from the past few weeks. My mother bragging about her new designer bag while I slept in my car. Annabelle's daily yoga posts from my old room. My father's business lunch receipts, all charged to the house account I secretly paid for. Documentation, I explain. Every cruel comment, every extravagant purchase, Every moment they chose luxury over basic human decency. Brutal, Sterling nods approvingly. But what about... He's interrupted by the coffee shop's door chiming. My father, no, Lewis, walks in, looking more disheveled than I've ever seen him. We need to talk, he says, approaching our table. No, we don't. I start gathering the papers. Everything goes through Sterling now. I just found out about the insurance fraud, he continues as if I hadn't spoken, and about the DNA test. Funny how you're only interested in talking now that there are consequences. He runs a hand through his graying hair. I knew about not being your biological father. I've always known. The coffee shop seems to go quiet, though people are still chatting around us. You knew? Iris stands up, fury in her voice. All this time? It didn't matter to me, he insists. You were still my daughter. Was I? I meet his eyes. Because fathers don't let their daughters sleep in cars. They don't laugh at their dreams or mock their failures or... I was wrong, he interrupts. About everything. The startup, the house, all of it. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't change anything. Then what would? He pulls out a checkbook. Name your price. Whatever you want. I stand up slowly, gathering my things. You still don't get it, do you? This was never about money. It was about respect, dignity, family. All the things you and Mom taught me were important, then denied me the moment I needed them. Please, he says, his voice breaking. We can't lose everything. You already did. I hand him one final document. This is a list of affordable housing options in the area. Sterling compiled it. You have 5 days left to choose one. Stella. Oh, and one more thing. I pull out my phone, showing him the insurance fraud evidence. If you or Mom or anyone else tries to fight this eviction, this goes straight to the police. And trust me, fraud charges will look much worse on your business record than downsizing to an apartment. He stares at the phone, then at me, then at Iris, who hasn't said a word during this exchange. You really are your mother's daughter, he finally says. Just as ruthless. No, I correct him. I'm my own person, the one who slept in a car for 18 days, watching her family choose cruelty over kindness, the one who built something from nothing while you all laughed, the one who's finally showing you what real consequences look like. I turn to leave, then pause. By the way, I'm not ruthless. I'm just done being your victim. As we walk out, Iris squeezes my hand. That was intense. Yeah, I agree, watching through the window as Lewis slumps into a chair looking defeated. But necessary. My phone buzzes with a text from Sterling. Ready to file the final eviction papers? I look at Iris, then back at the coffee shop where Lewis sits with his head in his hands. Yes, I type back. It's time to end this. Eviction day arrives with flashing lights and official vehicles. 2 sheriff's deputies stand on my front lawn while my family performs their final act of defiance, refusing to leave until the last possible moment. This is ridiculous, Annabelle wails, mascara running down her face as she clutches an armload of designer clothes. Where am I supposed to go? The apartment your parents rented last week, I reply calmly. The one you called Beneath Your Dignity on Instagram. My mother emerges next, trying to maintain her composure even as the deputies begin cataloging items. Stella, please. One more week, just to sort things properly. You've had weeks, I remind her. You spent them burning photos and filing false complaints instead of packing. Aunt Josephine appears with Uncle Nigel, both carrying boxes. You'll regret this, she hisses. The community will hear about how you treated your own family. You mean like how you treated me? I pull out my phone, showing her the viral Reddit post about my car sleeping saga. The community's already talking. They're just not saying what you'd like to hear. Sterling arrives with the final paperwork, nodding to the deputies. Everything's in order. They have 30 minutes to remove personal items, then we change the locks. I watch as they shuttle back and forth, carrying pieces of their lives to waiting vehicles. My father, Louis, makes one last attempt as he passes me with a box of golf clubs. That insurance money, he says quietly. Your mother was desperate. The credit card debt was from her shopping addiction, I finish for him. I saw the statements. Funny how you had money for Annabelle's yoga retreats, but not for your daughter's basic shelter. He flinches, then walks away without another word. Inside, the house echoes with emptiness and accusations. Annabelle's dramatic sobs drift down from upstairs. My crystals. I can't find my healing crystals. Check my old room, I call up. The one you claimed for your emotional recovery. My mother stands in the kitchen, running her hand along the granite countertop she'd been so proud of. I suppose you'll sell it now? Make a profit from our misery? Actually, I say, I'm keeping it, but not for me. I turn to Iris, who's been quietly watching from the doorway. It's yours if you want it. I've already put it in your name. The look of shock on my mother's face is priceless. You can't. I can, and I did. I hand Iris the deed. She's the only one who showed real family loyalty. She deserves a fresh start. But she's only 17. She'll be 18 next month. And unlike some people, she understands the meaning of gratitude. The deputies call out the 15-minute warning. Annabelle rushes downstairs with an armload of crystals, nearly tripping over her own tears. This is karma, she declares, trying to sound profound through her sniffling. You'll get yours one day. This is karma, I correct her, for 18 days in a car, for every mocking laugh, for every cruel comment, for every moment you all chose appearances over compassion. My mother makes one final attempt, her voice dropping to a whisper. We can still fix this. Be a family again. No, I say simply. We can't. You made sure of that when you forged my signature, when you burned my photos, when you revealed the truth about Louis just to hurt me. The deputies give the final warning. My family files out, a parade of designer clothes and wounded pride. As the last box is loaded, I stand in the doorway of my house, my empty, quiet house. Want to do the honors? Sterling asks, holding out the new keys. I shake my head and hand them to Iris. Your house, your locks. As the locksmiths work, I set up 2 lawn chairs and a small table. Iris helped me pour 2 glasses of champagne. Is this petty? She asks as we sit, watching our family's cars pull away. Extremely, I admit, raising my glass. But sometimes petty feels like justice. My phone buzzes one last time. A text from my mother. You've destroyed this family. I show it to Iris, then type my response. No, you did that. I just bought the house where it happened. As the sun sets, Iris and I sit in our lawn chairs, sipping champagne and watching the locksmiths finish their work. Through the window, I can see my old framed photo still hanging in the hallway, the last reminder of what this family used to be. I walk inside, take it down, and drop it in the trash. Some memories aren't worth keeping. Ready to go? Iris asks as I return. Almost. I raise my glass one final time. To karma. She clinks her glass against mine. To karma and to real family. The empty house stands behind us, no longer a monument to betrayal, but a symbol of justice served. Sometimes I realize the best revenge isn't just winning, it's making sure the right people lose. The lake house windows reflect the morning sun as I scroll through my phone, reading Annabelle's latest Reddit post. My millionaire cousin evicted our whole family and stole our house. Is she legally allowed to do this? Still monitoring their social media? Iris asks, setting down 2 coffee mugs on the deck. Just enjoying the comments section, I admit. Sounds like karma. I'd sleep in my car if I was you was currently the top response. Iris settles into the chair beside me, wrapping her hands around her mug. Mom tried to contact me again yesterday, said they're struggling to adjust to apartment life. Funny how that works when you can't afford weekly spa days anymore. My phone buzzes, a text from Sterling. Your mother's lawyer finally gave up. No more appeals. Good, I type back. How's the house? Iris is taking good care of it, he responds. Though your aunt keeps driving by, taking photos. Think she's trying to document negligence or something. I show the message to Iris, who rolls her eyes. I saw her yesterday. She didn't recognize my new car, so she got close enough to peek in the windows. Should have seen her face when I opened the door. What did she say? Something about betraying the family legacy. Iris sips her coffee. I told her the only legacy I saw was 18 days of cruelty. A notification pops up. Annabelle started a GoFundMe for family recovery and legal fees. Current total, $12. They still don't get it, I mutter, closing the app. They think this was about money. Wasn't it? A little bit? No. I set my phone down. It was about watching them laugh through the kitchen window while I ate cold takeout in my car. About Mom forging my signature because she needed new shoes more than she needed her daughter's trust. About Dad knowing he wasn't my biological father, but using it as a weapon anyway. Iris nods slowly. Speaking of that, did you ever try to find your real father? No, I say firmly. I don't need another parent who might disappoint me. I've got something better now. What's that? A sister who understands what real family means. A car pulls into the driveway. Sterling, carrying a folder of final paperwork. He joins us on the deck, taking in the lake view. Your mother's insurance fraud case has been settled, he announces. She accepted the repayment plan rather than face charges. How long will it take her to pay it back? Iris asks. At her new salary? About 5 years. He hands me the folder. She's also agreed to mandatory financial counseling. I flip through the documents, then pause at a photo that slipped out. An old family portrait from when I was maybe 5 before everything went wrong. Found that while clearing out the last boxes, Sterling explains. Thought you might want it. I study the image. My mother's genuine smile, my father, Louis, holding me proudly, all of us believing in the lie of perfect family. No, I decide, handing it back. That family doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it never did. My phone buzzes again. A community alert. Someone's posted about the tragic Armstrong family situation on Nextdoor asking for support. Should I respond? I ask, showing Iris the post. No need, she grins, pulling out her own phone. I already did. Posted the video of Mom burning your photos and admitting the fraud. Added screenshots of their party post while you were sleeping in your car, too. Sterling whistles low. Brutal. Honest, Iris corrects. They wanted the community to know the truth. Now they do. I stand up, walking to the lake's edge. Behind me, I hear Sterling and Iris discussing the final legal details, but my mind is elsewhere. You okay? Iris calls out. Just thinking, I reply, about what Mom said, that I'd regret destroying the family. And I didn't destroy anything. I just showed everyone what was already broken. Sterling joins us at the water's edge. The house is officially clear of all appeals and challenges. It's really over. No, I say, watching a family of ducks glide across the lake. It's just beginning. But this time, we get to choose who family really is. My phone buzzes one final time. Another text from my mother. I hope you're happy with what you've done. I look at Iris, who's already reading over my shoulder, then at Sterling, who's become more than just a business partner through all this. Actually, I type back, I am, because I finally learned what you never taught me, that family isn't about blood or names or houses. It's about who stands beside you when you're sleeping in your car. I hit send, then drop my phone on the deck chair. The lake stretches out before us, peaceful and promising. So, Iris asks, what now? I smile, feeling lighter than I have in months. Now we build something better. Something real. Behind us, the lake house stands as a testament not to revenge, but to justice, and to the family we choose to become.